What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series Preseason Qualifier #1 for North America. My name is Melcrit, and I'm joined by Dia. That was a mouthful, but Dia, I am so hyped to be here along with, obviously, this massive stack of really strong teams that have made it all the way here. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about right now? Because I can't wait to get into these games.
I mean, right now, I am thankful that we are here because there's Thanksgiving in Canada where I am, and it only seems appropriate.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thank you. I've had a really good day, honestly. Getting back into the swing of things with ALGS Year 3. Right now, I gotta be honest, I'm thinking mostly about who's gonna get that top spot because Pro League qualifiers are unlike anything else. We spend most of the year in Challenger Circuit, but dang, like, Pro League qualifiers are so sudden, they are so intense, and it's because there's only that one spot up for grabs.
Yeah, it's really intense competition. Everyone has to bring their A game every single time because if you don't steal away a win in one of the 4 qualifiers, you have to get through with points. So all of your performances, they start to stack up and you need them to stack up. So every time they show up, I mean, these teams have such a long way to go, even just in a single qualifier, right? I think there's 4 total rounds before the semis and then finally to the finals where you finally get 6 games to prove that you have what it takes, that you can prove obviously that you can take on the likes of some of the teams up at the top in the Pro League. So it's an intense amount of competition, and of course the level is up there as well.
I mean, across all regions we had thousands upon thousands of teams registering to be part of the race to the Pro League, and now we finally get the chance to see some of the best, the top 20 in North America who have made it here. Among them, one will go to the Pro League, and we get the chance to see them right now. You talked about this a little bit earlier. You asked for some of my thoughts. We do have teams available. You can check them out through the Battle 5, but I want to call out some teams that I'm especially going to be looking at today, and one that I know you'll be keeping your eye on, BR Demons. Absolutely a squad we've got to keep our eye out for because they trounced the competition this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they put up some ridiculous numbers. 80 points in a single 4-game round. 80 kills, excuse me. Points would be one thing, but 80 kills in a 4-game round, and I think they racked up 84 in the semis. So they are definitely mechanically insane on the map. They are a danger in a 3v3 scenario. They've already proven that time and time again. So I'm looking out to see if the level of competition has increased enough that maybe the macro is going to start to give them a little bit of trouble if some of the more experienced teams in the field and obviously some of the more macro, more rotation focused teams are going to be able to give them some trouble because obviously 80 kills in 4 games is a pretty ridiculous mark to set.
Now today we've got 6 games. The first 3 are going to be on World's Edge. The second 3 are going to be on Storm Point. But they've already kicked off with a little bit of action. Lokesea landing in Fragment East have encountered some trouble. Jomax specifically for the highlight players of this roster already down, leaving Just Controversial up with LTC Esports as a full 3-man, not running a seer, rarely enough, still chasing him down.
Yeah, and this is what I love about these competitions. Obviously, in the Pro League qualifiers, we get a little bit of a taste of some of the players that haven't had their time in the limelight that are trying to make a name for themselves. So not super familiar right now with LTC, but maybe we should start to get familiar, excuse me, as they take out Lokesea, and that is the first team down in our qualifier finals.
They might not. They might be joining LTC very soon, or rather LTC may be joining them, as already Lox and Key were looking down for buff aim assist, the former eclectic roster making their way over to Fragment East, Fragment West, one of the places that I didn't expect there to be so much priority on. Landing center of the map, always really nice. Fragment, especially in Pro League or Pro League adjacent games, not nearly as valuable as one might otherwise think.
Yeah, we know that at one of the patches that we didn't have not that long ago, the value, right, just the raw amount of loot that you can pick up in those areas is not all that amazing anymore. You don't have, you know, the likes of TSM as one example of those top teams really just picking up tons of loot and being able to get out of the mid-map with a lot of resources to work with. So now seeing those contests, man, they're burning resources just to get through those fights, and now they have to use those resources that they had to split with those teams to get on out for the rest of their game. So yeah, definitely a tough spot to be contesting.
World Class already fighting here in Lava Fisher and up against Redeem of all teams. These are two top of the lobby squads I'm expecting. Redeem have been playing as a 3-man for so long and have recently swapped over to Crow, but outside of that, I mean, they were one of the most powerful rosters when we think back to Challenger Circuit in Split 2, and going up against World Class, who are built of raw talent themselves, with Kim Shi Lee at the helm. A lot of shot calling experience there, and an incredible amount of mechanical skill with Hollow and Hambino. I'm surprised no one died in that fight.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking, but I guess both teams just recognizing they got to give themselves a little bit of space and each other some space. It's the first game of the day. Everyone wants to have a good game, so some of the aggression you might see dialed back a little bit, and I think that's one thing that is actually sort of punishing for some of the newer teams that are joining the ALGS in these pre-quals, right? If they play too passive, if they don't find the right opportunities to strike, they can lose a lot of value, but obviously the caliber of these teams, we don't have to say it all that much more than we already have. They're really good players, and they need to show some respect, because, I mean, people got beams, people got shots. You can see Crows there already eating a lot of damage from really just seemingly nowhere, not even on their radar.
We talked about this a little bit in the pregame as well, and we brought up BR Demons just as we started the day, but one of the big questions that we have is whether they'll be able to run through lobbies the way they have been all the way up to here, because they've made this preseason qualifier look so easy so far. But the fact that we're still sitting at 19 squads, that only LTC has picked up a squad wipe so far, may indicate that even BR Demons are playing with the respect that all these other teams have also made it here, that this is the hardest lobby they've encountered so far, and they're not going to take any unnecessary risks.
And right now we're seeing that, yeah, 19 squads. That's what you love to see in these first ring closings. I'd love to see for all 20 to make it to that second ring, but that often isn't the case. So already seeing the level of competition starting to increase a little bit. And here we're already seeing a crypto, which I think is something that Glitch Gaming was running throughout the qualifiers. Looks like they're sticking to it. Matchin already putting that down, and SZN on the other side on the receiving end of that EMP. We did get to see Klein a little bit in some of the other preseason tournaments trying out that crypto, so obviously somewhat familiar with what's going on here, but I'm curious to know if that crypto is going to get them as much value as they would like, or if SZN is about to capitalize.
Especially with the fact that Zone isn't ultimately going to pull down here. We've got Watson set up in tree already, but moving towards Lava Siphon, where this zone is going to eventually rip everyone to, you don't have a whole lot of options for moving through all this low ground unless you have a Valkyrie, and even that isn't going to get you very far. As more and more teams start crowding towards tree, we're going to start seeing a sort of culling of the week very soon. The bad boys showing up and farming around the outside to see whether they can be the beneficiaries of some of this play.
Yeah, and bad boys are no strangers to the ALGS. At the very least, a lot of the squad definitely plenty of experience, and they're running one of those compositions, that we're going to be seeing, I think, quite a bit, though. I mean, there's crypto in the mix. We're seeing a little bit more of the Watson, so this might be sort of one of the more standard game plans, but right now taking quite a bit of heat out in this choke, just trading out some shots, trying to rack up some of that Evo, and really just trying to figure out where they're going to go next, because as you said, this ring is about to start pulling people all throughout these chokes that can be so dangerous, and teams' rotations are going to start crashing. That's where a lot of these teams are going to find a lot of value or potentially be losing out on their first game. We have yet to see any other knocks, though, since that first contest, so everyone really just giving themselves a lot of space right now.
Exactly. You want to play in the best endgame position possible. That's why we're seeing some of the more experienced squads stack themselves up in North Lava Siphon. BR Demons, for example, already have a great position, one that'll age pretty darn well. They have height, they have plenty of loot, especially given the fact that they started here. They've even got shield swaps, which feels oh so good. They're right next to other more popular squads as well, or others that you may be more familiar with, as First Attempt are sitting right next to them on the outside, and we've even got the former Vizio boys sitting off to the north as well, now playing underneath Void.
Here we can see that next ring pull. So looking at where Aiden's team, the BR Demons, are already chilling. I mean, this building can get them a lot of value if they're able to effectively keep out and punish some of the later rotations, especially over on the eastern side where they have all of that LOS. But without something like a Watson, this building can definitely get really contentious, and holding every level of it is not the easiest feat by any means. So right now they're keeping sights. They're maybe keeping a little bit of pressure to make sure they don't get messed with, because if they can keep this building into the late game, it can definitely be a lot of great sight lines and, of course, a lot of great opportunities to find even more kills.
Guys on the squads around these folks, and for the teams that aren't yet in Lava Siphon, noticing some of the train tunnels right outside of Lava Siphon that lead over towards Harvester. I noticed Team Skies, who have been pretty quiet throughout the qualifiers so far, finishing in 8th in our second group yesterday with just 33 points. But they've already prioritized a really nice position, one that Nightmare would really like to have, were they not otherwise involved in an engagement. Bursty already taken very low, and Arcstars following Ronnie. We may get them going down right now as Ronnie turns around with the Volt, still has Arc Stars and bullets flying in his face. That nade is going to run right by him, but the bullets from Phonyhead will do him in. They're fighting up against ESA, and it's an uphill battle for them. Dracos manages to turn things around, no 1 HP, but then gets taken down, leaving just Bursty at 50 health to eventually explode in the face of Fury. Esports Arena claimed their first kills of the day.
Yeah, fantastic job there on the push by Esports Arena. The Nightmare was making it look really close, and this is something that we both sort of recognized, right? Nightmare has a lot of the mechanical potential that they need to perform extremely well, but look at their positioning. Look at the priority that Esports Arena had all over that fight. Once those ultimate and the Arc Stars started coming their way, it was really difficult to defend, and ultimately Esports Arena picking up a nice 3 KP for them, and of course clearing out their backside so they get a little bit of priority on this choke as well to maybe open up that next rotation. Great spot for them.
It's super smooth, and they're a team that I want to keep my eye on, especially once we get into those later circles, because Esports Arena were a team that many people thought would just automatically qualify to the Pro League. It's a surprise to many that they are even here. And the fact that they've started things off so well on the first day, it doesn't speak volumes just yet. We haven't gotten to the end of the game, but it makes me smile. Rack Attack, they're making me smile as well. This is another team that I think a lot of people should be keeping their eyes on. Full of veterans. Rakanation and Impulse, they're a tale as old as time. To add Bowser alongside them, these guys know the game in and out.
Yeah, the old Farm Boys roster. Shout out Farm Boys. Without the Farmer on this particular roster, though, and Rouser, obviously a really, really strong player. Definitely a very nice third to have on your team. And so right now, Rack Attack are the team that are having to make their decision about this next rotation. Meanwhile, Bad Boys is just eating damage all over this POI, and now they are running for the hills. They have 2 members down and 1 member not as healthy as they would like. They're going to try and rat it out for the rest of this game, because I'm not going to lie to you, Dia, those banners are looking pretty irrecoverable.
No, I wouldn't go for it. Not into Slept On. Third in their group yesterday with 43 kills, making up the majority of their 59 points, by the way. I wouldn't be re-engaging with Slept On, who Euban is currently looking at down on the low ground. Rack Attack noticed all the carnage, but have chosen to take a little bit more chill of an approach, especially for right now, since they've still got ground to cover. We've talked about the kills, but the ring is continuing to pull us further north. Everyone's been forced to vacate Tree now, and there can't be that much room left in Lava Siphon.
Yeah, looking at the teams we still have left alive, that's 18 teams that are about to start making their way over towards this third ring close. So that might actually be a saving grace there. Maybe Bad Boys, after that other squad ends up having to make their rotation, they might be able to pick up those banners. We will see, though, because they're going to be scrapping for it, if anything. Esports Arena now does have a lot of control over this northern side, and we saw that after they cleared their back, after they cleared out Nightmare, they have a big opportunity here to move in and pick a spot. But of course, they're still on the edge, and a lot of teams have already taken early residence and are looking their way. So they will have most likely at least one more fight to take, one more difficult rotation to force their way into the end game.
Esports Arena, another team that is running that comp that was popularized by Furia at the World Championships with the Horizon, the Valkyrie, and the Seer. A lot of mobility and information in this squad, and that information, I think, is the most valuable thing that you can have in a lobby like this. some teams have chosen to forego the Seer, and it's not that it's not viable, but having Seer is such a blessing, because even as Esports Arena come up on these buildings, they know for a fact that no one is in them in a way that other legends simply can't assure you.
Yeah, we always kind of threw out the early comparisons that I think are really inadequate, comparing them to the Bloodhound, but of course does a lot more than that with the passive, and right now Phonyhead is doing a lot of work with that flatline, excuse me, trying to swing in now, taking out Sung all the way. They get thirsted out, and now that squad has a member down as Esports Arena starts to make their push. This could have been the pick that they needed to open this map wide open, and here we see the walk up, and I don't know if anyone's even holding this bridge DS, so they might have gotten this walk up a little bit freer than I was expecting.
Yeah, it was really just Void in their way, and after losing a member, Void have definitely vacated the premises. The fact that Sung went down to the flank from Esports Arena probably caught him plenty off guard, as you can't be expecting a whole lot of people to walk up on you like that. It's a pleasure to see that the Esports Arena lads have actually capitalized on it. They've capitalized on something else as well. Need serious help. Already got taken down by the flatline. Valkyrie are out in the meantime, and Esports Arena are thinking about committing on the fight. The fact that they're not on the low ground, I really like. They're just laying in the damage from afar, taking the single kill that they got, and letting the rest go by.
Yeah, they're holding the spot fantastically, and this is where they need to start finding some of that value, right? You need to start making sure that your shields are evoed up. If there are kills to be had, you need to pick them up later or earlier than later, because a little bit later is going to be a lot more difficult as teams are fighting for those end ring positions. So no one's really going to give up free angles. No one is really going to give up a whole lot of space for you to work with. Great job by Esports Arena, but again, they're still sort of gliding near this edge, and they continue to have to pressure teams and be pressured by those teams from the inside out. So they will have to use all of the tools left in their kit to try and force their way through 16 squads. We've only seen 2 fall in
World Class are going to have to do something very similar. They are sat on the wrong side of this mountain, and yes, while they do have a Valkyrie, making your way into Lava Siphon is going to be really difficult if you're going in blind, if you're using the Valkyrie, and if you're trying to go through glitch gaming to do it all. Another one of our squads running this crypto. I think the squad that you called out earlier, actually, over by Tree. And with not just the crypto for the info, but the Watson for the staying power, they should have this choke for the next 26 seconds until they're forced to move in.
Yeah, and they have a little bit of time here. They have to utilize that crypto to get the information that they need, but of course they know there's a team on their backside, and they have to hold them out, because if they do, look at how much space they earn from themselves. Obviously, we know that Esports Arena is holding up on the other side over towards the north, possibly pushing up on that bridge now, but World Class kind of has to commit to this. They are out of options, and the Valkyrie won't save them here.
Gambino pushing up is playing a very risky game right now. With that EMP out, though, there's a lot of resources being expended. Arc Stars are hurting World Class, but it's nothing they can't handle for right now, especially with Gambino covering, especially with that stick from the fuse, giving them a little bit of extra retaliatory damage. Lamek is laying down damage with the Prowler, still has plenty of ammunition in the cartridge, but gets forced back by temporary Arc Star. There comes the fuse ultimate, largely negated by the Watson pylon, and the nades keep flying for Glitch. Matchin goes low, but they're holding out for right now. World Class have to push up. The ring is going to force them together, and already Glitch have lost 2. It's just Matchin against the world on the edge of the ring, and with the Peacekeeper, he takes out World Class.
Wow, what a fight. They just pull it out there, maybe 25-30 HP left, but they managed to do it. They actually fend off World Class, who had easily one of the most aggressive compositions we're going to see. They had a lot of that pressure with the fuse, but just enough soaked up by that Watson generator, and just enough space opened up with that crypto ultimate. They hold for now.
So nice to see with Glitch getting a what looked like suboptimal position and turning it into a place where they now get to play the game on their terms. Everyone else is forced to fight in Lava Siphon, but they've got that Valkyrie they can use just a little bit later, something that BR Demons isn't going to have access to. They go out in the kill feed with ESA being the team to take them down. ESA from here are running the lobby, but still have to make it that much further into ring.
And look at how much pressure Esports Arena is exerting right now. I mean, they have full control over this northern side. They don't have the best cover situation, but they don't necessarily need it when they can out-LOS pretty much every other squad left on the map. Of course, we know Glitch Gaming might still be stuck back in that choke, and they're going to have to make a move sooner than later. But for the time being, I mean, the Esports Arena, the world is their oyster right now. World's Edge is their playing ground, and this is where they have to start finding a lot of those kills, even though already 5 assists just on Capra. They're doing a perfectly adequate job of that already.
This crypto could really mess them up, though. Glitch have the opportunity to interrupt a Valkyrie ult, to slow a rotation in if they just pull this off at the right time. First attempt on the other end are going to have to exit Lava Siphon pretty darn quickly, and they opt to take the low ground where there's already a team looking to capitalize on them. They get taken down by Clanes. They get eliminated by SCN, but now Clanes have been focused down as well. Void aren't done, even as a two-man. They end up claiming some really nice kills from above. Bad Boys are gone. We're into the top 9, and Void as a two-man just helped take out yet another player.
And Esports Arena now getting a turn on what is very likely Team Glitch, unless this is another team they found on that rotation. Phony had beautiful shots with the hip fire on the flat line, but Fury is still down. So they need to continue to defend. They need to continue to hold. They've managed to sneak their way into ring and avoid that arc start with the friendly generator, or rather enemy generator, left by the team they just finished off. Nice shots coming out, and that's actually Void eliminated by Esports Arena.
Phony, you're so crazy with the positioning. He and Capra ended up, like you said, out LOSing everyone. It's 9 kills now for Esports Arena as they are in the top 7, as they have an entire quadrant of the remaining map left to just them. All of these loot boxes and an entire ramp are there. This rack attack, they're trying to claim the building in the center of Lava Siphon. Can they do it? Grab lift expires. It doesn't let Rakinishu get up, but he pops up with that Gibraltar. He gives it not a second's rest and is able to back up. Shadimus Prime, they're out for now. Rakinishu covering the entry for the rest of his team as Rez is going off. He's gonna ape it. Will the rest of his team follow up? Rack attack, go hard! And they take out Redeem, sending us to the top 5.
Redeem is knocked out, and look at this. Rakinishu actually rocking the Gibby for this endgame. So I think that might be the only defensive bombardment on the map, should they still have it in their back pocket, which could be absolutely colossal in this end game. A minute 51 left for this final ring to close, and now all of the marbles are getting put out on the table, and a lot of teams are losing them right now.
Hey, that was a really rough thing to watch, as well, as whenever we tune into a squad with a grenade right next to them, you know they're not long for this world. 4 teams left. Esports Arena, one of the few that's actually operating as a 3-man right now, and that alone is going to give them a massive advantage. We'll look out for Rack Attack on the other side. With those 2 squads, I believe they're the only 2 that have a full 3 members. So it's mostly a battle between these, and we'll see where the Rats choose to dedicate their efforts.
Yeah, they're looking for that cheese right now for sure. Whatever cheese they can scrap together. It looks like Esports Arena now committing, but they find a giant orange bubble in their faces, and they are immediately forced to hightail it on out of there. I don't think they were prepared for that exactly, and suddenly their push is very different from what it was before.
Defensive bombardment's down as well, though, and as SZN leave the lobby, we're in the top 3 with Esports Arena making a push on the high ground. Fury, the last one alive, hiding in the black hole, takes a lot of damage and ends up going out, leaving us in the top 2. And Rack Attack go out as well, with Slept On being the ones to crawl up, I believe, as a 2-man and take the game.
Wow, after having no wins during the semis, they show up in their first game preseason qualifier #1 finals and take it from easily 2 of the most, I guess, decorated teams that we're going to see in the field right now. We expected Rakinishu's team to show up and do well. We obviously expected Esports Arena to show up and do well. They were doing exactly that, almost taking away the BR Demons title from Aiden and the rest of that squad. But in the end, Boat and crew take it down.
And while we called out Slept On for being an incredibly frag-heavy team, reminder, 43 of their 59 points yesterday coming from kills. The fact that they've got these extra placements already is incredible for them. To find a win, the kills that they needed, and keep themselves in the conversation already coming out of Game 1 as a 2-man squad. This is exactly why you tune into preseason qualifiers.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of teams showing up here. A lot of teams showing up a little bit earlier in our kill feeds as well. Nightmare getting knocked out pretty early by Esports Arena. Honestly, a lot of victims of Esports Arena. But of course, BR Demons also knocked out a little bit earlier than we were expecting. So already the tables are getting to turn in a little bit of a different direction. People are playing really differently, and this is, I think, what we discussed and what we were hoping for before the matches started, right? We're hoping that the macro adjustments are what makes a big difference, right? Some of the teams that can just get away with superior mechanics, suddenly you're in a lobby with a bunch of other Predator players, Masters players, and players that are very experienced with competitive plays. So taking a look at some of these replays, we're going to see exactly that.
The other thing that we're going to see, of course, is that mechanical skill that you talked about earlier that I was wondering how much of it we would get, because often in especially Tier 2, try to qualify for Pro League Apex, you'll sometimes get teams that are still sorting themselves out, and while we did get some really scrappy fights, we also had an incredible amount of clean micro, a nice beauty shot given to us by our replay ops, is there were so many, especially with aggressive 3v3s like Rack Attack were able to give us, and great defenses on the high ground as well. We got to see that slept-on victory just at the very end, and it's incredible to see people so confident in their Apex ability as to be able to full send it like that.
Yeah, and tons of surprises as well. Obviously, we saw the crypto on Glitch Gaming, which is not the most common pick, and Rakanishu pulling out that Gibby. I think that really put a stop to ESA right when they were about to hopefully clean up the fight that might win them the game, but ultimately that is not to be. Hopefully, we'll have a lot more surprises in store for y'all soon. As we cut to a break, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, y'all. We are still here. I'm still Mellowcrit. This is still Dia, and we just finished up the first game of the North American preseason qualifiers, and this is the finals, baby. So that first game was big, and we saw a lot of fun new stuff and a lot of teams playing with a whole bunch of new toys that I don't think we were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed seeing things like the Crypto and the Gibby. The Gibby, actually, we talked about a little bit in the inter-game time. I really liked for Rack Attack. I think that for especially people like Rack and Impulse who grew up in that sort of standard meta where Gibby was a necessity, they've clearly got a lot of practice on it. It's a great comfort zone, and when there's only one Gibby in the lobby, he is immensely powerful, being able to really dictate like they did to Esports Arena when you're fighting, when you simply are not allowed to.
Yeah, that was a massive wrench in Esports Arena's final push, and I think that might have been something that really just took a second, right, to readjust. You haven't been seeing Gibby in so many of these tournaments, so suddenly you have that bubble in your face. You just throw out a perfect ultimate that you're going to capitalize on and get a whole 3 KP on your way to a win, and suddenly you can't even walk forward, Diaz. So a lot of interesting dynamics here, and of course we're also seeing a little bit more of that Watson, which I obviously love to see. You love to see those teams be able to hold down some of those defensive positions a little better and obviously protect themselves during those transition points that can be so difficult.
It's clearly been really valuable to teams like Glitch as well. We called them out not just for their Crypto, which is the really big disruptor of the meta, but that Watson really helped them hold down the choke as well in the face of World Class, who were, I'll be honest, really ready to tango. As we set down for our second game, though, we will be going elsewhere, not near Lava Siphon at all, where so many teams had a lot of success rotating to. We had so many folks alive. This time, we're going a little further north, and that may shake things up. It's certainly shaking things up in Frag East. LTC haven't gotten the early kills that they did last time, but they're setting up for it. Make no mistake. Void is going for this is a W key moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of have to in this POI, right? It's contested. You're not going to be working with a lot of loot, so you have to finish these fights fast, lest you be taken down by a third party, by something from Overlook. And they're trying their best right now, but also eating a lot of damage. Void going down quite low. And actually, Dan Monatic has some angles to work with, but might not have dealt quite enough damage as Lo Que Sea are the ones finding multiple knocks. Make that 3 so far. Nope, 1 more left, but they do just that. LTC Esports now on the losing end of this.
Nasty alternator shots at the very end. The health was just really well managed by Lo Que Sea. There were a lot of shots that didn't feel like they were quite landing, and that's what it turns into on the 50-50 when the health is so low. Every shot counts. It ends up with Lo Que Sea still being, again, rotated on pretty early. We've still got a squad, the very same squad, moving their way over into Fragment East, but again, showing up after the fight has already happened. Buff Aim Assist can still take advantage of this, but I don't know if they know that.
Yeah, and there's no beacon here, which means they're definitely here for the party, right? They're here to take shots at this team. They're going to steal away that cargo bot at the very minimum. So no damage found, and already they're starting to ping because they know they can't spend too much time here. If there are no kills, they have no business here. They have to start making their way over towards the north. And it looks like we're pulling, if I can see that correctly, we're pulling somewhere to the northwest. Possibly a skyhook situation?
You know what? I could see us going up over that way. I want to take a look at the bigger map before I make any calls, and I am down with the gamble that you've chosen to take. It seems like a good one. Buff Aim Assist, they're definitely starting to move their way up here as well. See if that scouting that they've gotten, the insider information, is enough, since they are still looking for the beacon, as you mentioned earlier, to get that extra info. World Class, I believe, already have it, as they've been able to scan the beacon, and we can see ourselves moving a little bit further into the northeastern side of the map. They're sticking around Lava Fisher for now, seeing what kills they can find. They don't mind their position as long as they have the opportunity to hit this beacon up.
And that's a massive heads-up play there. You see World Class, obviously no Gibby to protect you from that scan, and they recognized there was a team on their backside, so they waited out. As soon as that team moves out, they know they have a couple of seconds to hit that beacon and figure out where they're going next. So beacon info now acquired by World Class, who does have Kimchi Lee on that fuse. So definitely able to turn up the aggression to 11 as we take a look over on the south side of the map, where FLS is unfortunately a member light right now. Frosty is down and out.
Not everybody's having not everybody's having a good time, and it's actually a good time, I thought, to bring something up, but we'll talk about it a little bit later because VR Demons are gonna start fighting. This has to be their fight, by the way. The Dark Star stick on the door. It went out surprisingly early, surprising everyone last game. And if they could just pick up a little bit of KP, I'm willing to give them that benefit of the doubt back, say that BR Demons are, in fact, going to be BR Demons in our second game, as the team in front of them escapes relatively unscathed, though Shadamus Prime managed to dodge fate, dodge death once more, and move themselves down towards the southern side of the map, where they've still got plenty of time to rotate it.
And I think, obviously, BR Demons, they're happy to fight. They're happy to take fights all over, but also taking a look at where this ring is pulling. Maybe they have to start thinking about their macro a little bit more, and now they're playing a little bit more safely. They're playing keep out, or at least I thought so. Now, they're just taking up all of this space. They are hungry for these kills, and they know they have this team out shielded at this point. We got a purple on Aiden, so they are looking to get aggressive and looking for these kills. They're on the hunt right now, Dia.
I like the moves, especially since they've got the Seer. They'll have a lot more data on the team in front of them. Valk ult over the top, though, will likely mean that Shadamus Prime once again evade the death that hunts them. We'll see how long they keep this shenanigans up as we're moving over towards what looked like Lava City and has now suddenly become more of a Geyser Lava Siphon angle. We'll see where they end up going, as I think even they are still figuring out how close exactly they want to land to those that are looking for them.
Yeah, and we did just see a team rotate through here not too long ago. That was actually Frosty's team, FLS, who made their way through that choke, but actually taking an even wider rotation over towards Lava City to give themselves even more space. And it looks like now BR Demons are starting to make a rotation of their own, making sure that they have enough resources to play into this next section of the game. Vayne hasn't even healed, hasn't had time, and I think they might have understood that maybe they overstayed their welcome a little bit. Now their situation is going to be so much more difficult getting into this choke, and I'm not sure if a team is going to be holding there, but BR Demons isn't going to gamble with it quite yet, and they're going to loot up just a little bit longer.
I like this move, honestly. To get yourself as much crafting as possible. They've still got the mats around them. Should total 75 for each member of the team. They'll have plenty of med kits to craft. So much sustain in the ring. Sustain that those inside the ring simply don't have. You cannot out-heal the damage from Nightmare. Not at this rate. Sitting in front of the door is only temporary safety, and it's not nearly enough, as Ronnie, with this car, is really doing a lot of work. Now, on the other side, Newcastle provides some safety, but with Joey Blackout going down, things are looking grim for Redeem right ahead of Nightmare, who have again chosen to take this characteristic 3v3.
Yeah, absolutely. Nightmare incredibly dangerous in those 3v3s. We know that these players are very mechanically talented, and right now what they're doing obviously is just clearing out their space a little bit, but they actually run into the last member and end up losing Bursty. They'll likely clean this one up though. Redeem is eliminated. They will pick up this last member, making sure they get those shield swaps as quickly as possible. But yeah, now they have so much control over these buildings. I wish I knew where this ring was pulling next, because this could be fantastic if it continues to pull their way, though. We can already see a lot of other teams have taken residence.
Golf claps, by the way, for Z Davis, who did have some really nice moves with that PK. Unfortunately, Nightmare ultimately don't care, as they do get set up for success. We get a taste, by the way, of that ring that you were talking about. If you look in the upper left, we do have the ring going slightly further south. The squad we were just checking in with, pulling us to the southernmost end of Skyhook, and what looks like a little bit of the open ground to the north of Landslide. Bad Boys have still got to make their way over there as Horizon ult goes out. They found a squad, they just can't find the damage yet. 41 in the sky, makes it a clean 90 and not a shield break yet. But Bad Boys take to the sky in a gravity lift of their own to try and make up the difference. Rambro dropping right back down for a quick heal, but still has to cover Yuban, who's on his way out, who's not going to make it out. Hakulo takes him down. SCN are on the hunt, and they've already taken down one of your members.
And SCN was plenty healthy. We can see there the members on the side of Yuban and obviously the rest of that team were already looking low. No shields left. One member down. Meanwhile, Season hardly having their shields cracked there. We see a little bit of firing back, but now they're just holding out the inevitable. The gravity lift is going to try and answer to give themselves a little bit of space, a little bit of fight left, and they might take down Kenny. As they do it, they do in fact take him down. Now a TV2 situation, but BR Demons is here.
That was the greatest bait of all time. With Bad Boys sort of saying, hey, look, we're all juicy. They've actually taken SCN and run them right into BR Demons down 1, as Kenny didn't even get the chance to play the game into all of that. Now, the dark side of this is that BR Demons are still on the hunt. They're not slowing down as they find yet another member on the low ground. Reeds isn't giving up just yet. He hasn't gone down at the moment, is able to shield Bat up. And as long as BR Demons can keep everyone alive, we should just see squads dying around them, because they are going to get aggressive. They are not going to let other teams sit idly by and watch the chaos.
And this is the danger, right? When you're not able to clean up a fight quickly enough, it might look great in terms of ring position, right? You really don't expect a team to swing behind you and start to take down your team as you're trying to finish a fight and pick up whatever scraps of KP you can find yourself into on your way to your rotation. But right now, SZN really feeling the heat. They're going to be deep in this ring now with 2 members. They do pick up that banner, so maybe looking for a stick at some point, but look at how far they have to go, Dia. They have so many other POIs, so many other teams that are potentially looking their way as they make this happen. And of course, BR Demons are plenty hungry for those kills that they missed out on going out in 13th in game number 1. So they are certainly going to continue hunting down everyone they can find.
I think the really disheartening thing about the position of SZN right now is that they're not even under any illusions about waiting for each other. It is already a every man for himself sort of situation, as Hakulo has split up from his horizon and gone for, I mean, what you can't fault them for, but a survivability play. And at that point, you're not playing for the win anymore. I do hope that they're able to group up and give us that good old SZN showing, as I know BR Demons are going to be doing as they leave Landslide and opt into this low ground. Careful for that team in Sniper Tower if there is one, because it could be the end of BR Demons.
And it could be the end of this game. In fact, looking at how this ring is pulling, we see it continue to shift downward. Haven't gotten a great look at where it might pull, but you can already see how many teams are interested in this spot right there. They're seeing that it's kind of a juicy situation. We already had multiple teams that got fought out on the south side. Actually, I think we might even see more members still sitting in Landslide, if I can just get a peek at that correctly. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that aren't here, and I think there's something to be said about that, right? Teams understanding that they can't get to some of these spots too early. If you get there too early, you will get crashed on by other rotations. You will have to defend against multiple teams taking up so many valuable resources. So for now, everyone's just kind of biding their time and making sure that they are safe enough to walk in. And of course, if there's kills to be had, plenty of these teams want them to.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams are playing with respect towards that sort of initial rotation. At the same time, playing quite aggressive around the outside, and I like the mixture, the combination of those two things. They're not, as I used the phrase earlier, sitting idly by around the outside of the ring. They are getting aggressive, picking some fights, and even if they're not committing to them, as well, I may have spoken too soon. Glitch Gaming, they're starting to commit, that's for certain. Already having found a knock previously, they're going to be able to break this door, but Machin's already down. Lamek has good damage, but is landing for only 9s on the PK. Finally takes down Dracos, but is the last member standing of his squad with a few more fences with a shield gen that he got baited into. Nightmare are going to take down Glitch Gaming.
And Nightmare finally finding those isolated fights, those building pushes that they are so good at executing on. They've now taken down 2 teams in these buildings over towards Skyhook. That's 2 less teams that you have to worry about as we walk in. I believe at least one more team was holding on that edge, but they are likely to move out as well. So for now, Nightmare may have an end game on their hands if they continue to fight like this. And of course, they can force their way in the ring, which they've done a fantastic job of so far.
Rack Attack are out already. Enemigo actually doing a lot of work, taking out both Impulse and Rakanishu in a surprising turn of events. Valkyrie don't want to be joining them anytime soon, though they've already lost a member. They have to exit. Sauce takes some damage, and so does Sheeny. They are certainly not out yet with the gravity lift to chase them. Valkyrie may not make it out today. Sauce has but a pixel between him and taking a little bit more damage as he gets the shield bat off. I do wonder whether he's going to be able to get his teammate back into the game. Right now, it feels more like a bait than anything.
And this Eastern choke on what we see to be likely that final ring is potentially that God High over there, the sniper tower. And this is the issue with all of the rotations crashing all at once. It looked like Valkyrie was going to get a walk-in. I'm not even sure if they were aware of that other team, and they're immediately punished for it. And here we see another set of teams that has to take this fight. They have no options, and Nightmare, likely the team that's crashing on their backside as well.
Veggieplex in a really nice spot right now around Grandma's house. This was the team that came in second to redeem yesterday in their group, and having taken down Dracos, they're starting to dismantle Nightmare on the rotation, and Ronnie desperately wants to get his teammate back but can't quite access him. Still alive though. We might actually get Nightmare making this work. SZN go down in the meantime as Kenny is eliminated. And Barry Veggieplex weren't able to finish that kill on Nightmare. Are they going to commit to the low ground and try and stop this res?
And I want to say this is briefly playable. Cheeky gravity lift there to keep out Barry Veggieplex. So they're going to live for now. I think they might pick up that member. But this building is completely taken up. There are 3 teams that are taking residence here, I believe. Top, bottom, and middle. It looks like Skinny Veggie Ninja does eventually pick up Dracos. Valkyrie is eliminated in the meantime by I think Capra. Yeah, we see them there taking them out, and Void is eliminated by BR Demons. They are just running rampant right now on the other side of the map.
Esports Arena and BR Demons, they're the ones picking up momentum as everyone else starts to stagnate in this choke. You mentioned the fact that there are 3 teams stacked in Grandma's house right now, and all of them are outside of ring. Really only Barry Veggieplex have the opportunity to get themselves out using that Valkyrie ult from on high, and ESA are going to be looking to gatekeep those very same squads. The grab lift to help them scout sent them back to the previous choke point. I do wonder whether they go forward or back and around. Do they play safe, or do Esports Arena get aggressive?
Yeah, and this is absolutely the time to do it. They recognize that they have their backside clear. They showed up at the right time, not too early, but definitely not too late. And now they are capitalizing on a lot of these kills. They're going to keep exerting pressure, forcing these teams to make bad decisions, to be forced into desperate situations, desperate ultimates, what have you, using up their resources. Time and time again, we see teams capitalize on these late rotations, and I think there's Valkyrie ultimates on deck, but these are going to come down to coin flips.
Resources are getting a little bit low for Esports Arena. They've got to claim some of these kills. They cannot be caught in a war of attrition. Nightmare trying desperately to exit the building as Barry Veggieplex are picking a fight with their next-door neighbors, or at least they were. Nightmare are gone, and Barry Veggieplex eat that Horizon ult, lose 1, but are still in the fight. A lot of damage gets thrown in from behind as buff aim assistance slept on. Our victors from last game are out. Esports Arena, they do clean house, and now they can make their way into the ring.
And now they own the northeast side of this ring. They had so much control that whole time. They really just had to let those teams fight each other out, take up all of the kills, soak up all of the kills as they just waited around, controlled that space, and now they have some angles to work with. They have an opportunity here to get into this late game with plenty of resources. But right now, World Class are the team that are fighting with all of their resources to try and force their way in through this tunnel that Skies is holding down. And this is not going to be an easy feat right now as CUA starts to swing in. Nice damage coming out from the Eva, and indeed World Class is eliminated.
It feels bad. There's really nothing to be done when World Class get themselves in that situation. What I'd be nervous about right now is for Skies, because they're also very easily put into that situation, though. If they can hold on to this cave, they've got a good spot. Esports Arena don't seem interested in pressuring them, as instead they've got problems outside of this Skyhook tunnel to deal with, and some pretty big names are going to start walking up on them. FLS are up on this sniper tower, and right next door to them, BR Demons are going to have to face down these 2 squads.
But notice where this ring is pulling. This isn't a sniper tower ring, so FLS now also have to use all of their resources, and more importantly, a lot of their LOS that they currently have on some of these other squads to be sure that they could clear out a walk-up. Look at where Esports Arena is. Look at where Skies is. They can look at them as well. So suddenly a gamble on a very fantastic spot in one end ring is potentially tragic in another.
I do not find myself envying Esports Arena either, because Though they have some ring, technically, their cover is meager. Not as meager, of course, as FLS, who have unfortunately dropped quite early as well. Moving their way in, don't have a whole lot of defense. And check out the aggression that it is pulling from BR Demons. Lox is already down. No, we've still got 4 teams left. That's going to be rectified really quickly by a combination of ESA and BR Demons.
But ESA definitely menaces. They're looking to steal back this game after it seemed to have been snatched from them in game 1. BR Demons doing a fantastic job of laying the damage on thick. They've got 3 red shields already on deck. They have resources. They have ultimates. They have that Seer ultimate ready to go as well. 4 squads left. One of them in shambles. Make that 3 as FLS is eliminated.
And now you turn your eyes towards Esports Arena and their friends next door in the tunnel, who are going to have to make their way towards you. BR Demons have such a good spot right now, and even with Skies having a really nice position up until this point, there's not a whole lot of exits that don't take you into the sightlines of ESA and BR Demons. Skies aren't going to push out. Esports Arena can't push up, and BR Demons get to sit here and farm it up all day long.
Yeah, the execution of this move is going to be critical for Esports Arena, and honestly, that package giving them a little bit of extra cover that they're using fantastically right now, because they have to pressure the team on the right. They have to force Skies out. They have to force BR Demons to fight them so they can have a chance at winning this game. But to be completely honest with you, Dia, look at where BR Demons is sitting right now. I mean, they have sight lines, they have cover. They don't have that ultimate on Aiden, though, so that could be potentially critical here as this final ring starts to close.
This game is up to Skies. Will they make the aggressive move at the right time? Onto who? Will they aggress? Do they wait? They are the ones that determine the pace of the game, even with the very little territory that they control, because as we all know, it's these small things that can get away from you very quickly. I could even see Skies taking an upset win if Esports Arena underestimates them and starts pushing forward. The same thing for BR Demons. Esports Arena are going to have to exit now. It's already fight started. They're exiting onto BR Demons, and Skies are playing it patient. They're sitting along the side, farming it up on Esports Arena, who have already lost 2. BR Demons, a full 3-man strong, recognize weakness. They smell it in the water, and they start running forward. It is their time to shine as Capra is down. We've still got 3 squads left, but we know it's only a formality at this point. Raids gets the chance to shield that up. Skies are playing this so safe. They've got so much HP to work with, and so much damage from Skies. No knocks just yet, but it's time to go. Walking forward with the Mastiff. There's not a knock yet, but as Vayne goes down, it could be Skies that take this game. The reload's enough. Reeds is out, and Skies, they're going to take the game away from BR Demons. They're going to take it away from Esports Arena, and they're going to take game 2 of the Pro League qualifiers.
Wow, the micro really coming through there in spades. They managed to wait out just long enough for BR Demons to overposition to go for those kills that were rightfully theirs, but unfortunately they give up so much room and they give up so many sightlines, so much free damage, and Skies lives, recovers just in time, and capitalizes on the overcommit. What a turn there, and Skies takes game number 2.
That was so good. Such a good end game. Even I thought Skies was going to overcommit, because why would you not? Esports Arena are right there. They're delicious. And yet they wait. And then they win the fight against the team that killed everyone. How do you take that gamble? It's so good. And then they won it. This is why I love Apex Legends, I think, is the best way to put that.
Yeah, this is the action that we're hoping for. And obviously, I mean, it was so close, right? When that ring is closing, it comes down to who's going to make what decision. And in that final moment, it was Esports Arena that was not able to wait out a second longer. They aggress onto BR Demons, and ultimately that was the nail in the coffin for BR Demons as well. Even though they managed to take down ESA almost in one foul swoop, 2 members down almost instantly, they overcommit to the Thirsts, and that's unbelievable. But look at the damage they were doing throughout the mid game, D. I mean, they were just farming all of the southern side of the map.
And even though Nightmare went out early, they also had a really solid mid game, and it's worth calling them out because they fell early last game, and we went, hey, is Nightmare going to be able to measure up to this lobby? I'm glad that they were able to, because they silence any doubters, right? No haters in this lobby. We get to see the Nightmare that we were all looking for, while at the same time still waiting for them to find their win, still waiting for them to find their way into the late game where we know they have the chance to flourish, much like Skies did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what Esports Arena was doing there, right? I think they recognized at some point that they weren't going to have the best spot possible. So they took advantage of it at the right times. They were looking over at Grandma's house where so many teams crashed. I mean, we saw Nightmare crashing there. We saw the Veggies team also crashing there, and they end up all crashing into Esports Arena. So they got a lot of value from it. I'm curious to know what the results are going to look like after that game. And of course, a massive game from Skies. But we'll hopefully be able to let you guys know what's going on in that leaderboard after the short break. And don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Punish you as you walk in, but also the opportunities to punish those very late rotations, especially the teams that aren't expecting them. BR Demons was on the losing side of a lot of those rotations to the point where they were just down to Vayne, but in the end, Esports Arena, who fought for all the right spots, they took the right fights and won them, ends up in the best spot and takes down the game.
And what an amazing play from them. I think it was a nice conclusion to what they had started giving us in the second game of the day, and honestly even the first, where they did play really well throughout the whole thing. Esports Arena were a team who I was excited to see today because especially their end game play is really dialed in. They are an excellent fighting team, and they are in a unique position to have so much experience provided to them through their entire Pro League play as W just last split, on top of literally just playing in Series E for so long. I don't think there are many other teams that have played against this many pros and together for so long.
And I think a lot of the sleeper picks here are coming out in droves, right? We already see Skies win a game when we weren't necessarily just focusing them super hard. And we had Slept On take the first game, and now we see LTC, who managed to shove their way into a second place finish. I mean, that's all fantastic, fantastic performances from some of these Black Sheep teams that maybe deserve more attention after some of these games. Real quick, before we pop over to our break and before we swap over to Storm Point, I know you guys guys only enjoy the end game with us, so apologies
Oh.
from our end. We're trying to get some stuff sorted, but hopefully we won't run into any more kinks as we move on to the latter half of the NA preseason qualifiers. Number 1, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. half of the preseason qualifiers for North America for the ALGS, fighting for that first coveted spot into Pro League is all done, and we are on to the second half. We're on to the Storm Point half, and I'm so excited because we had a blast in those first couple of games, but it's about to get crazier, I think. I mean, all of the craziness that we've already seen pulled out, I feel like Storm Point just puts a little extra, a little something on everyone's plates to really just increase the pace.
It changes everything, and I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think it's a crazy prediction. It's just a prediction. BR Demons have already had a good start. I don't know if they're going to top the charts at the end of the day. I can't pretend to, but I do think they're going to have a much better Storm Point showing than they did World's Edge, because from what we saw in the semifinals and even now in our World's Edge games, isolated fights where they have the distance advantage, where they get to choose how far they are and they aren't in danger of being third-partied, I think is going to be their strong point.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. I think there's a lot of points on World's Edge where those transitions, they come at you quick, they come at you fast, and they come at you with way more teams, right? Way more teams that are either sort of hunting for that keep out scenario or really just trying to survive from the outer edges of the map as they make their way in. So whenever BR Demons gets crashed like that, if they aren't able to finish their fight fast enough, it can be absolutely detrimental. But here on Storm Point, if they can find some of those ISO fights and, like you said, pick their ranges, pick their spots, pick when they commit a little bit more freely without the danger of as swift a third party, I think they could capitalize in a big way.
We're gonna get the chance to see it as a southern zone pulls us a little further down. We'll get the chance to have an idea of where this is actually going in the long run as well, since there are several options in this ring. Definitely not fish farms, but perhaps a little closer. The big question for me is how far people are going to space themselves out, whether anyone hits that Lightning Rod Thunderwatch, because right now it doesn't look like it. There's a lot of open space near the north end of the map, and that means it's going to get crowded down south.
Yeah, and I'm actually really surprised because those seem to be one of the higher priority spots, at least in our high-end stack of Pro League. But right now, the priority is going over towards Mills, and Browser dropping early on the side of Rack Attack. They are starting to get run down as well, already backing up a little bit, trying to open up some space, trying to find some additional resources to maybe come back in this fight. But it doesn't look like they're going to get this for free, as Rambro, Oxy, Ares, and of course Yubin are already on the offensive.
These bad boys, they're certainly being bad early on. Taking down one member so far. The Vantage of all things. They're surprised to see Rack Attack running on this map, especially in a hot contest like this. With bad boys already having cleared them out, though, we've got a Trident from Glitch passing him by. They must have dropped Spider K's, because I don't know where else you get purples and blues that quickly.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty tight here, but already starting to move on out. And I guess this is where the game plans start to shift a little bit, right? Teams that might be used to hanging out near the edges and maybe keeping out some teams are less inclined to do so, depending on where their POI ends up pulling, right? So some of the teams, quite like Glitch Gaming, are starting to make some decisions perhaps a touch earlier, as round one is about to start closing, and some of these rotations might start to get heated. The heat right now on Mills, though, as the third team has joined the party, Dia.
Yeah, Redeem waltz their way in. I wonder if they'll find anyone, or whether we've already vacated. LTC, by the way, already out. That's 2 games today that they haven't been able to get out of their drop spot. Now, while Game 3 and Game 1 went in their favor, I do wonder whether they'll be able to actually make things work, much like I wonder whether Rack Attack will be able to survive into the later stages of this game. They've still got Bowser sitting on very low HP, with Impulse taking this angle, taking some really nice shots at the squad in front of him. I could see some KP going their way. That's 2 quick breaks, and a 301 will make short work of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Impulse laying down the damage that they need. Bad Boys is eliminated, but Redeem plenty healthy here in this situation, so they're just going to back up now. They have control over what scraps are left of Mills, but this ring is closing, Dia, and neither one of these teams are in it. So right now, trying to figure out what their next move is going to be critical. They're looking for something, right? They're looking for the scraps that were left behind from that contest, not finding a whole lot, but now looking to move far, far back towards this ring, potentially looking for this car to start to make their way in.
Back to their drop spot, evidently, as From here they came. Downed Beast also has a crafter nearby. They'll be able to farm up for a few more resources. Esports Arena taking the easy jump tower out of the IMC armory so that we know they're looted up, and World Class should as well, though they are chasing this for perhaps a little bit of extra loot. You'll be able to check in with the IMC armory, see if they left anything behind. Esports Arena, they're already on the move. They already found Glitch, who were right in front of them as they landed, but they're not going to extend this fight any further, at least not until they know where this ring is going.
Yeah, they don't want to overcommit to anything right now. And these are some of the chokes that could potentially have some heat on them, right? Some teams that might be looking this way, because as we see this ring pull, many squads are starting to get interested in where they have to walk and where they potentially want to avoid the likes of Esports Arena. It looks like Glitch Gaming is doing exactly that. They don't want business with this, but they are getting shot at from a completely different angle now, and in dire straits is Glitch Gaming. Can they find some space here? It's not looking easy, and they have a Crypto and a Watson, so not exactly any sort of mobility or information gathering that they can do on the run. So they're just running for these hills, and they're running fast.
Glitch have taken a very strange path to get here, and while I respect the game plan, I still am confused by what's going on, since they did make a really hasty exit out of Cenote, then wrap around through the center by Jurassic Park, through the open. They have no shield cells. They have no shield bats. They've just Valkolted to the edge of the map, and I believe, I trust, but I don't know what's going on, Mello.
Yeah, this is a little bit wonky, and I'm not going to lie, this sometimes happens when we transition over to Stormpoint. Everyone has some very well practiced and even some pretty comforting strategies that work out in World's Edge. So suddenly we transition here, brand new lobby, brand new set of teams, players, and rings, and the decision making may be getting a little bit wonky here, but the teams do continue to find their way into this ring. It looks like Glitch Gaming is not done being aggressed on. They just can't catch a break right now. Dia, 2 members cracked already. Soupy, the last member with shields left. Buff, aim assist on the hunt. They did find some purple shields on the other end of those damage pings, so they're likely not to get this for free, but they do have that ultimate, and they look like they have smelled blood in the water, Dia.
They're walking forward for now, sliding, I should say, as it's Lox that takes the most aggressive stance. Does have the Horizon ult for a little bit of extra setup and damage, but is waiting for the rest of the team to get there. We'll see how healthy they actually are by the time this fight breaks out once and for all. Nightmare taking to the skies for but a moment. Have Ronnie left holding their banner. VR Demons, the squad that I was hoping would thrive on Storm Point. Already found flesh, but are missing some health of their own.
Yeah, they're starting to eat a little bit of damage here, and they have to tune up this aggression because right now they're running out of space to work with, and they need to find these kills earlier than later because, again, look at where they have to go. Look at how far they still have to walk, and this edge is actually being held out by more than one team of sharks right now. It's actually Boat's crew that's holding up on this height, so that zip line is not safe either. It looks like BR Demons might be the ones getting hunted down in this game, number 1 on Stormpoint, and Slept On might be the ones to do it.
Dropping down this tunnel is a dangerous proposition. Psycho is watching it. He's like, am I gonna do it? I don't know. The little bit of extra information won't hurt, though, and it actually reveals something else behind them. Glitch Gaming have got some troubles of their own, as in Antenna, we already know that they were being pushed up on a little uncomfortably. They don't have that many heals, but they do have this Watson pylon that's kept them relatively safe for now. Soupy has absolutely no way of getting that HP back, though. Any damage to flesh is going to stick. But Buff Aim Assist don't know that, and they disengage, giving Glitch Gaming another chance at life.
They fend them off for now. That is the 3rd pack of wolves that they've managed to survive against, and now Buff Aim Assist are the ones dealing with a pack of players of their own, and they're actually looking to get aggressive here as BR Demons is eliminated. They actually got a knock onto Z Davis, so now they're opening up this fight wide open. There comes the ultimate from the Horizon. It doesn't quite find the enemy Horizon, but it does find Z Davis. That is one member going down. That's the Newcastle cracked. Joey Blackout goes down, and Redeem goes down. Buff Aim Assist find 3.
Is Sainu playing Pathfinder? Because I swear he had boxing gloves there for a second. Taking down Redeem and literally just not letting Newcastle play the game. Buff Aim Assist waited for so long by Antenna. And to clean up these 3 kills now and get even more loot as a result of it, that's got to feel good. You called out what happened in the meantime, though. BR Demons went down, and while I am saddened to see that my prediction didn't work out for this game, dang, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I think there's just a little bit of weirdness, right? There's a lot of teams that we don't expect in those positions that might seem free in a lot of the earlier lobbies, but 16 squads still up and kicking as the second ring is just about 30 seconds from closing. So now a lot of these rotations are going to start to come in. World class is denied. There is, at least in terms of the Valkyrie, and they're looking at that squad that just wiped Redeem most likely, so they have the heat on them, as well as another team over to the eastern side. It doesn't look like there's a lot of crowding, but it's about to get real crowded, Dia.
Oh my god, especially with this ring pull. Not many teams predicted that we were going over to this side of the Antenna Gale Station split. There's so much room, even up towards Launchpad, but evidently, Glitch Gaming, of all teams, have called that we're going to Gale Station. So you know what? They just know something that I don't. And I will say they're not the only ones. We've actually got a really nice setup in this IMC Armory by Void at the moment. And Void are a team that I'm still waiting for their big pop-off today. They had some really nice zone play last season. And with the amount of time that they've had to gel, with the time they've played under Vizio in Series E, I'm expecting big things from Void, if not this Pro League qualifier, the ones to come.
Yeah, and absolutely. It's one of those teams that I think I've mentioned to you before we started broadcast that I think they can do a lot if they can trust themselves a little bit, if they can make those hard calls and really execute, because they have the mechanics and they have the game knowledge to do it. But of course, they're up against some of the other very, very experienced players that are looking to find their spot in the Pro League, that are looking for their big break. Buff Aim Assist, another one of those squads that, while not necessarily in the center of our radar, is also making a case. I mean, every team really is here, so everyone's trying to survive here the best that they can. Esports Arena constantly doing a great job of that, and they already have a keep out opportunity here once again.
And if you're looking at Buff Aim Assist's name and saying there's something familiar about these guys, it's because you were watching Challenger Circuit last split, because you saw Eclectic running with Lux and Key and doing so well, having a great season. Honestly, by the end of it, they looked like a team that very well could have played their way through the last chance qualifiers. And the fact that they are right back here at the start of the season with a chance to make it into the Pro League and get even more experience with this powerhouse duo, it's a big thing for them. And I do wonder how many other teams even have the drive that these two players have, and whether these stories, whether the power that they've gotten from just being together for so long is going to be enough next to all of the other teams with very similar storylines.
Yeah, a lot of talent on Storm Point right now. Chattemus Prime finding themselves in an interesting scenario. They have some height, and I think they see some teams in their vicinity, but they are also having to start making those tough decisions that we've talked about. The macro gets increasingly more difficult with the level of these lobbies, and right now, Chattemus Prime looking like they might be hungry for some kills, but the positioning is going to be really tough. They're taking this at 1:15 roughly before this next ring closes. They are not within the next ring, so if they take this fight, it could be risky. It looks like they opt to just find their way through, getting up with the information that they gather, realizing that's not a fight we're taking, really just scouting out that building, recognizing that they have some space, and now they've taken up that hillside that they can potentially use to keep out other teams.
I'm wondering whether anybody will run through Buff Aim Assist, allow them to play keep away. For right now, they are the squad that we've chosen to focus on with their early moves over onto this hillside. A nice spot out from me and let them know that, yeah, there's something afoot behind them. There's something afoot in the ring as well, evidently, because Slept On very quickly clean up a 3v3. This is the same squad that took out BR Demons earlier, by the way. So remember those guys that we said at the beginning of the day? Oh yeah, you know, a casual over 70% of their points were made up by kills? Yeah, it's those guys. Those guys have found more kills.
Chathamus Prime now looking to find some kills of their own. They have this keep out scenario that they rotated towards after catching a team in that building, but it looks like now they're sort of stuck behind a rock and in front of a hard place. They're going to opt for the Valkyrie ultimate, but these ultimates are so much more precarious now with the nerfs. ADM has to pray for survival. They're looking towards this IMC, which isn't even safe and is actually sniped out in the middle of flight.
Barry Veggieplex to deal that final blow, and it's sure to leave more flowing as Valkyrie gets taken out, and we've got world class in an engagement. Lacking data, they take that gravity lift, they lay out the Seer ult, but it isn't enough to tell them where on earth the enemy is. SCN are all over them, and they take out Hambino, finishing that thirst, getting the shield swap if they need it, and Klain takes out Kimchi from behind the tree as well. SCN aren't even making it look close. This is the team that people said were robbed of their Pro League spot, and they are making an argument for why they should be there this season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the way they're controlling this map, they are maneuvering so many teams into perfect traps that they can just execute on time and time again at the edge of this ring. They do it on World's Edge. They continue to show that they can do it here on Stormpoint. Fantastic work by them. Meanwhile, sort of their counterparts, their foil here, Esports Arena, much earlier in this ring, holding it down and already realizing that there might be some kills to be had on the outside of their building. They are hunting for him right now, and that Seer scan might give them the push that they needed to start to look for this damage. That's a Watson broken on the other side, but the grenades are coming out, and multiple squads looking their way means they don't get this free push. They don't get the free kills they have to hold for now.
It's control that's always been the trademark of Esports Arena. They are not giving up those inches. Even with the small traps being laid down by the Watson. Buff aim assist, they're going up against SZN. In the meantime, it's right on the other side of this building. You cross the road and you're there at the scene of the crime. And Buff aim assist are not giving up ground either. They have got a grudge against SCN, and evidently Kenny feels it. It's a 1-for-1 though, as Lox has gone down in return. Key gets that nice interrupt scan. Zainu's healing up, but they're not the only ones in this fight anymore. We've got an entry being made, and unfortunately for SCN, they're on the receiving end of it. Lokase and First Attempt are down in the midst of all this. Zainu gets rotated on by like 8 people at the same time, and Skies doesn't get the chance to clean up all those kills because there are just too many. Siwa finally pulling off that res for a moment. Must have a third party coming in. Or were they the third party? It seems that they were. It seems that Skies are the end. They did it.
Yeah, the 4th or 5th party there, Skies, with some very nice timing there to just capitalize on the bunkers that so many teams had set up. And I think at least one more player, excuse me, holding out, trying to live out the rest of this game. Barry Veggieplex also going down in the meantime, so Skies now gets their opportunity to rotate out. They got the kills that they needed. They are starting to shove their way into this ring, but look at how crowded this already is, and it looks like Glitch Gaming are the ones to finish off Esports Arena. They're finding shots with the PK. They managed to take down potentially one, but Esports Arena actually eliminates Skies in the meantime.
No way do they do that with a little bit of assistance, I'll say, from some friends down the way. SZN still in this thing. Managed to deal some nice damage as well. They are right outside of Glitch Gaming, and with not a whole lot of access to Esports Arena, I don't envy the position of Glitch right now, and I'd like to see them get out of here sooner rather than later if they want to win. SCN take to the roof. They've got Chu on there, and they're thinking about pushing ESA instead, taking this what looked like normal move into the building and turning it on its head. A lot of damage gets dealt on the inside. A smooth move from Klain, cracks through the window, but SCN push their luck a little, take down Phony, and begin to dismantle ESA.
And they are doing it surgically right now. Every window seems to be a danger, and SZN are there every single time, checking out this squad inside. They just have to knock down maybe one more before they push in. They take up that room and they take those kills. But now the grenades, the defensive grenades, in fact, are going to start to fend them off, as ZN also looking for this push from the bottom side. So they're just controlling so much space, eventually finding that ultimate from the horizon in their faces. But they continue to lay down the damage, Dia.
I'm shocked that a squad hasn't dropped yet, that SCN haven't been able to clean this house of all the vermin inside of it, because there is so much that is just hanging on the edge right now. I believe Esports Arena have made their way out to the outside. They may be rotating. Rack Attack are gone in the meantime, though, and we're already in top 4 in just the time that it's taken for SCN to start this fight, to make their way into the building. ESA are already moving on, taking down members of Glitch, trading as Phony Head once again bites the dust, and Void are picking up kills as well as they have been for the past couple minutes. Esports Arena just have Capro left, reloads the wingman in the middle of the fight, but cannot find purchase through all of these knockdown shields. As the ring is closing, he's now got almost no way out. He's gonna have to tank zone, and there are no two ways about it. Drops down to the lower level, walks out right into the waiting arms of SCN, and Klain is here with a waiting Peacekeeper barrel for him. ESA, they are gonna bite the dust right now and leave SCN in the top 2 with the high ground.
And I think they might have a little bit of advantage here in terms of shields as well. And already the side of B. Borton putting down some cover because they have none left to work with. Klain already taking up this spot over towards the left. They are looking for angles. They are finding the damage. Blitz going down. Kenny finding so much damage with this 30-30. And now the swing in full effect. Another member dropping the hipfire from Hakulo. And he is going to be able to drop the final member, giving SCN their first win of the day on Storm Point.
What an incredible performance from SZ, and when they look like this, they are unstoppable. This is the former XSET roster that everybody knew could be so good, but to see them now alongside Hakulo picking back up from, I think, what was a tragic roster drop and a tragic loss of their Pro League spot, I have no words for how untouchable they looked that game. And that's sort of the curse. It's the blessing and the curse of the XSET SZN roster. Whatever you're choosing to call them, whatever you know them by, is that they can look like this and they can get lost in the middle of the pack. But man, when they look like this.
Oh, it's so good. It's so beautiful. I mean, they're executing everything so critical. On a knife's edge often are those fights, but they're being just patient enough when they need it. They're being just aggressive enough when they needed, waiting out, waiting for other teams to help their cause as well, not pushing buildings wildly or without purpose, rhyme, or reason, right? They're surgical in a lot of these attacks. They managed to take out so many squads really just by being in the right place at the right time, not even by dealing crazy amounts of frag damage. And they did that even through the mid game, right? They're one of those teams that doesn't love to hang out super deep in zone. They like to hang out in those edge spots where they can find all that value.
It's insane to think about that. Let's see, going into this game, they were sitting at 6th with only 20 points overall. With that game, they're going to push themselves. I mean, they've already gotten more than half the points they got all day, and that's not even counting kills. That wasn't even the craziest thing we saw, though, as I really did like this fight from Buffamouses with the melees, and we did get a lot of really quick kills here. People making great use of the car to push themselves even further into zones. Other great fighting teams like Slepton also ended up leaving us a little bit earlier than a lot of people would have thought, and almost all of it was courtesy of SCN.
Yeah, SZN, again, just clearing out the rats on the edge of the ring, getting a lot of kills right when they deserved them as well. I mean, realizing that they can clear out these chokes and hold them down just long enough to have the pressure on those late rotating teams. Beautiful stuff. And obviously the cleanup here, they had the height to work with. They had the resources, the red shields. They had everything in their favor. So it really was just beautiful execution from them through and through. And I expect them to continue to do so because realistically, Storm Point is where they seem to have found their own a little bit. But we will find out if they can continue to perform as they have so far when we come back from this short break. What's good, everybody? We are back, and we are deep into our Storm Point games. We're about to roll into the 5th game of the finals, the 2nd game on Storm Point here of the ALGS preseason qualifier #1 for North America. I'm Mellowcrit, still joined here by the beautiful Dia, and we are having some beautiful end games here to watch.
Oh my god, we really are. Mellow, I've had so much fun watching these games with you, and the fact that we got an insane performance by SCN last game, it makes my heart so happy. And we still have so much more to cover. I stand by the prediction, despite the fact that BR Demons did fall early last game, that Storm Point should be where they thrive, and they should be a team that, much like Slepdom, much like SZN, much like Esports Arena, can dominate. We just have yet to see them do it.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a couple of teams where I can't wait to see if they can execute their game plans, namely some teams like Glitch Gaming that we saw seemingly running for their lives into one of the better spots in the end game. So, I mean, if it works, it works, right? We take those all day, every day of the week. But was that really the intended purpose? It seemed somewhat purposeful, at least in the beginning, and they managed to transition through some difficult points, really, well, normally difficult points, really uncontested in a lot of those situations, getting a little bit earlier to certain spots near the edges of those rings and eventually finding their way into a building. As Zien, another team that's also, again, like you said, seeing them have a good game is great because their game plan can look so crispy when they manage to execute it there. They executed so many teams on the edge. They punished so many rough rotations that were already using some of these dangerous chokes as their last resort. I mean, what can you say about the performances so far?
And I want to shout out a team that sort of flew under the radar last game, because SCN were our protagonists from that mid game. They were fragging out, and we were like, all right, lock it down, watch SCN, see how far they can take this. And they took it to the end. But quite silently, almost, in the meantime, Void had an amazing performance. I think their best so far today, making it all the way to 2nd. And if you were paying attention to the kill feed, cleaning up kills on the way there. They had a nice early position in the IMC armory that took them with a lot of success into this end game and into a position where, had they been given 20 more seconds, they could have been on even ground. They wouldn't have had low ground against SCN, and we could have seen them take the game as well.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned it because it was kind of like they did a lot of jogging so that SZN could sprint. So they had a lot of that early damage in those buildings that SZN was finding cleanups on. And even Esports Arena, when they did stay alive, they were also one of the ones that were trading that sort of cross-sectional damage throughout the middle of that final building. So I think you're right. I think they found themselves in probably the best spot, the best opportunity to have a great end game, and they executed on a lot of those points. Realistically, like you said, the timings just work out in a certain way. They didn't get the recovery, they didn't get the right spots in those buildings, but a lot of these teams have that potential, right? It's starting to show with that map swap. We're starting to see that some of those silent killers that maybe have taken a couple games to ramp up are now here to play for real.
Yeah, also a lot of tenacity from Glitch Gaming. I'm going to call that out because, I mean, their early rotation, say what you will about it, I think I've said my piece, it left them with not a whole lot of resources. And yet, they lasted against ESA for God knows how long. They repelled both aim assist and antenna. And it's that kind of making do with virtually nothing that can separate the wheat from the chaff at times. I'm really impressed with the way that they ended up playing that. And it looks like they may be doing it again, because this circle looks mighty familiar, Mello.
Just a little bit here. Might be a little bit familiar with where this might pull, yet to be seen. But of course, after that second ring pop, we'll have slightly better information. And actually, shout out to Glitch Gaming. You do mention those resources, right, that are so difficult. And I think it makes a big difference when you have that Watson to sort of survive in that battle of attrition for resources. When you're there early, you have to hold on to those tight and really use them get them as far as possible. If you use them too early on those fights, you could be absolutely doomed. Right now, Oxy Ares shield looking mighty doomed here. Does trade out a lot of damage, but actually letting so much damage onto Bowser in return. What a start for Bad Boys.
Mozambique goes hard, ladies and gents. Pick that up on your hot drop. Bad Boys, once again, get a little naughty, finding the kill. And Euban has actually found the Gibraltar behind him. We know that's Rakanishu, and we know Rakanishu could be in trouble. Nice little bit of peel from his amigo Impulse. Bad Boys still are running this building, being able to clean up Bowser, pick up what little loot that he had, continue onto the two-man that they know is in the area.
Yeah, and that's a rough start for the side of course, a former Noble squad, now looking fantastic, but not as fantastic as Bad Boys here. It's a little bit rough, and it might continue to get rougher, but actually multiple members up, and Rambro getting traded out somehow by Impulse just goes to show how dangerous that team is, even with a knock. And actually it's LTC on some other part of the map that gets eliminated before them. This squad stays alive for now. They are holding on to the last thread possible, but Bad Boys is hunting.
They've even got some help from Redeem, who have rotated out early. Crojo grabbed his loot, went out to see what he could find, and Joey Blackout now gets to scout a little bit as well. Rack is down, and Impulse is the last member left standing of Rack Attack, Rack Defense, Rack Run. Bad Boys.
Rack Sprint.
Yeah, right. Impulse Please is going to be the renaming in this game. We'll see if Impulse can get out, as I believe he's got some banners, does have Bowser's, but can't grab Rakanishu's just yet. If he goes back for it, might be able to sneak it out from under the eyes of Redeem. But nothing's to be certain just yet, because when you have a lone member on 150 health, a second can change the course of your entire game.
150 health, and it looks like no shields to work with, so they are sort of stuck there, even though they're holding on to those purple shields. So looking for that banner, taking the risk, praying that Redeem has pushed out Rack Attack, and unfortunately they are the ones that get pushed down. Kraujo taking down Impulse, and we are one team lighter here going into the rest of this game as round one starts to close in. Valkyrie also looking to clear out their rotation and get involved in the fight.
The contest by Mill has been the downfall of what was an otherwise pretty confident squad. Rack Attack had a really nice couple games on World's Edge. They really wowed us in game one, but unfortunately for them, second time they're not really getting to make an impact on the rest of the map as we move forward on Storm Point. It's a good time for us to update you guys on the standings as well. 4 games deep. I'm going to give you our top 5 once again. Esports Arena are sitting in first place with 73 points. Slept On are right behind them, are pretty far behind them actually, at 48 points on the day. SCN have rocketed their way up to third with 45 points. BR Demons are sitting in fourth with 32 points, and in fifth, Skies hang on to the victory they had earlier with 31 points.
Yeah, 2 full games left to go, or at least 1 game and maybe 3 quarters here for these teams to try and climb up that leaderboard. But Esports Arena seems to already be cementing their spot at the top of this leaderboard, and that could mean them cementing their spot into Pro League, which would not be a shock here, but I'm ready to be shocked, Dia. I'm ready to see some of these other squads have some crazy games. We saw what BR Demons was able to do in some of these lobbies, and they aren't the only ones that are capable of doing that, but Esports Arena does have such a crispy game plan that they continue to replicate, so they know what worked in this ring. They're likely going to take a similar approach here to continue to soak up that placement points, excuse me, and I mean, it's really hard to get them off of those spots when they're there early. That,
even though I know that there's no way it's the same ring again, right? You know, you look at this and you go, well, surely not, but signs are pointing to yes, and I am pointing to scared, because when teams get another chance to salty run back the game that should have been theirs, tactical change, we will get more aggressive. Redeem already feeling that as they've lost 1 and are looking to poke their heads out at a team that seems to already be focused elsewhere.
This is an interesting spot for Redeem. They're a member short here that got knocked, but they have all of these sightlines and all of this pressure onto a squad that realistically has nowhere else to run. As this first ring closes, they might be shoved deep into the ring, and it's actually the likes of Nightmare right now that are trying to force their way in, and SCN might be on their backside as well. Joey Blackout eventually finished off, doesn't make it through the doors, and Redeem have to cut their losses and run because the ring is also coming for them, and they don't know who might be on this other side waiting for them. Fortunately for them, it looks like they get a moment of reprieve, and they might get a moment of Valk ult.
Are they going to go back over? I would kind of dig it. I don't know if they're going to go for it. If they can go for it, they can't go for it. But man, would that have been cool. They're still thinking about wrapping around the side. And honestly, you've got time. This ring, you can tank. Though Zone 1 was buffed, it's still very doable. And right now, Redeem are not giving up this fight for first. They're saying, if we want to win, we've got to do it as a 3-man. Let's go get our 3rd man.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you have to respect the teams that are still unafraid of this ring. I think there's still a lot of situations where crafting deep in zone can be your best bet. And I think some teams have already shown that on World's Edge. Not so much in Stormpoint, but we might see it here. Meanwhile, in these same buildings that were likely to get another endgame, BR Demons, actually this is further south towards Shipfall, they are finding some kills of their own. Hambino actually going down, and look at the tracking from Vayne.
What an incredible turn right there, and great balance. The BR Demons that we expected to see have routed a squad. And, well, we did get Valkyrie thinking about engaging here. Having lost a member, they're thinking more about going back and seeing what they can do with that. Not wanting to push their luck against the BR Demons in front of them.
Yeah, definitely a dangerous team. And actually, Buff Aim Assist were the ones holding this spot last game in a very similar timing here. So Valkyrie does get a little bit of space to work with, but actually they're the ones being kept out. And they might not have actually gotten that spot. That might still be held by the exact same team. We will see here in a moment, hopefully. But they still have a member to recover, Dia, and that's critical because even though they could potentially fight this spot under normal circumstances, they have BR Demons on their back. They have another team in front, and they are a member short. So most likely going to go for what could be a suboptimal scenario here, moving their way into Antenna that is pretty well populated, at least on this southern side, by 2 teams.
Calling out Void again, who are starting to pick up momentum. They are once more finding themselves comfortable in the ring that pulls this way. We'll see if they can replicate their success from earlier, because right now Void are sitting at 7th with 24 points, and it wouldn't do them any harm to push themselves up further, though first place is still a bit out of reach. This could not only put it in reach, but even if it doesn't, it could stack up some much-needed points for the future.
And one of the teams that continues to stack up points throughout this tournament, throughout these tournament finals. Remember, y'all, these teams have already been through the absolute gauntlet that is the first, 5 rounds of this qualifier. So they've had to deal with every quality of player under the sun. And they are here in easily the hardest lobby that they're going to have to execute on. Look at where they're going to. Esports Arena knows their spots. They know where they like to play out of. But will they be allowed to do it? Fury going down very low and starting to stick a Phoenix kit. They're praying now that Asir isn't in range. Looks like they get this spot for now. They get to hold, and they get another moment, another opportunity to push into another endgame.
One of those moments where it's just really good to have a Phoenix kit. So rarely do you have 10 seconds to breathe in this game, but once you've got it, man, does it feel good. Void aren't going to be able to pressure Esports Arena. Instead, these 2 squads can work in tandem. Unless, of course, Esports Arena starts dancing around in front of them. There's always the chance that Void can turn their focus onto the rest of the lobby and start taking down those that are going to need to get into the Fish Farm scale station area pretty darn late. BR Demons making a hasty exit right now. I imagine to try and find this res outside the zone. Vayne should survive until such a time as they get this, but even so, sitting outside zone on this gravity cannon is really risky because your entry is very telegraphed. You do not have a lot of options. It's gravity cannon or a straight line into the ring.
Yeah, you can only be so creative with that recovery, right? But they do manage to pick up Vayne, who does end up surviving. Perfectly timed, not even afraid for a moment. And yeah, they're actually opting to walk back in, and I don't think they have the Valkyrie ultimate on deck either. So it's just going to be a straight up walk, but they are 3 strong. And this is still second ring damage, which isn't absolutely detrimental, but boy, does it start hurting a lot more than the first.
I'll tell you what's really detrimental is that ring flare that was accidentally put into the game. They're still working on taking that out, but right now, it could be the downfall of several teams. Nightmare, though not outside of the ring, are definitely taking some light effects to the face. With the black hole that was dropped right in front of them. Dracos and Bursty, though, surviving even through that coordinated push and able to make their way onto the roof, where they now have a much more commanding position over this situation that's developing behind them. I believe it's a 2-man they're fighting as well. Take a look at the kill feed. We've got some kills being found by Void.
Yeah, it's getting hot over there. Void definitely looking for the salty run back. First attempt is actually knocked out, and Nightmare actually getting the bleed outs there. So some earlier knocks that are starting to turn into, you know, the cash in of KP that they need. And they actually have a respawn beacon here conveniently for Ronnie to get brought back in, and I think the team they're keeping out might be Redeem. Another squad that might be looking to force their way in and clear this rotation is Lo Que Sea. I think they're hearing a res, but take a look at the kill feed. Esports Arena going out in 16th.
That is a really solid missile swarm for right now. The fact that Esports Arena is missing is something these teams can now capitalize on. If Lo Que Sea can just find these kills, even as a 2-man, it'll mean so much to them in this game of catch-up that everyone's playing with ESA. Controversial, dropping onto this low, is going to have the car already reloaded and down. Siwa hitting the ground like a sack of brick. Skies, the last one left, is fighting it out with these knockdown shields. But we know the name of the game, guys. This is Apex Legends. Third parties determine everything. And Valkyrie, even as a 2-man, come in and wipe the floor with Skies. Looking for Controversial now.
And you have to know when to get aggressive. Valkyrie, even with a 2-man, they recognize that this might be one of their only opportunities, not just for points, but for clearing out this side of the map. And look at where they get to walk now. They don't have to worry about the squad in front of them that might shove them out. And you can see there, Lane might have just rethought this game plan, finishing off a kill here on the backside, and they're likely to pick a Valk ult. And yes, indeed, now going to look for just a corner, a slight, you know, crevice that they can hopefully play this out of, because look at how busy this already is. Glitch Gaming in a very similar spot, but also potentially on the winning side of a fight this time around.
Don't have that many options. With Shadamus Prime relegated down to playing as a 2-man as well, it feels like this is the story of today's lobby. Even with this Seer ult, there's just so much info that BR Demons have to push in to find Slacking and take him out in half a second. They own the top floor of this building, and if you think BR Demons are stopping there, you haven't watched them for very long.
And we know what the leaderboard looks like, which means BR Demons does as well. And they know that they have to hunt for all these kills. They have to soak them up as much as possible, especially knowing that Esports Arena is no longer a threat on the map. It is no longer an opportunity for Esports Arena to continue to cement that first place spot with even more points. They're hunting for kills. They're hunting for rats. They find Chatham as Prime's last member, clean up another squad, and we're down to 10 Dia.
Nice clean half-second shield swap from Vayne as well, adding a little bit of extra style to what has already been a really clean game from BR Demons. But in the top 10, they're not out of the woods yet. Glitch Gaming, yes, they made it here again. I don't know how, but gosh darn it, they're here. And they're gonna fight BR Demons whether we like it or not. Popping into the building now, they've got some good entry damage. They've got the Watson fences laid down, but they do not have their crypto anymore. It's a 1-for-1 as Soupy from below lays in the DPS with his car, but can't get out of the Horizon ult in time. He's lost in the sauce, and he's taken out as Glitch Gaming go down. Buff aim assist, they've come in. BR Demons are gone, and the Forest claims them. 7 squads left, and BR Demons will not be getting the points they need today.
The key and the lock have both arrived. They are here. They are claiming all of this loot. I think that's 2 full squads worth of endgame loot that they're about to soak up. BR Demons getting a little bit too aggressive there, committing a little too hard to that glitch push. Glitch does go down, but fends them off. Damage is enough, just enough for this final team to come through with the third party and pick up all of that sweet loot. Void, another team that you'd mentioned a little bit earlier, now finds themselves a member short, but they do have some position to work with, and this is not pulling the same direction, at least not exactly. I don't think these buildings will be safe for all that much longer, and yes, indeed, Buff Aim Assist will be one of the teams that have to push out, and right now, they're pushing down Berry Boy.
Buff aim assist in a risky spot, though. You don't want to expose yourself to too much damage from Void. Even the teams across the way who could look down. Zainu feels a little bit more comfortable on this Valkyrie, dropping down with the access to verticality. Even Lox takes the risk. Very Veggieplex are gone now. We only got one team on this height, and the risks that Buff Aim Assist took were worth it after all, being able to claim this area of the map, this high ground that won the game for SZN just moments ago. Slept on, they're still in this game though, and they're a team that we have to keep our eyes on. If Boom can survive just this, FLS are down, and we're into the top 5 with Slept on being in second place right now. This is their chance to alley-oop over Esports Arena.
They absolutely could do it here, but Void, the team that we've called out for potentially just licking their lips, ready to take this salty run back, their wide open arms ready to receive it. I mean, there's still a lot of teams that are in contention here for winning this game. Buff Aim Assist looking for kills. They're not necessarily thinking about the end game yet. They're looking for this KP. They haven't found it quite as fast as I expected, but they will likely take down Redeem. Lock's getting a little bit low, but they do take him down in the end. That's another 2 KP in their pocket. Even more loot to work with, even more LOS now.
God.
The map is even clearer, and Void is getting pushed.
Oh my, as soon as we panned to them, you knew they were dead. You see 3 people from Slept On dropping in against a 2-man, and there's no way out. With 3 teams left, though, I'll tell you who doesn't have a whole lot of ways out. It's Slept On, who, from this IMC armory, can still be flanked, can still be jumped on, and who still have to contend with 2 squads who are trying right now desperately to sandwich them.
And Nightmare, we get to see him in an endgame with a playable position. They have just 2 other squads. This is actually one of the slimmest endgames we've gotten to watch so far. And right now, all of these teams are so hungry for every single one of these points that are left on the map. They are looking for all of those kills. They are looking for that positional point that they can pick up. Every scrap matters right now. And Buff Aim Assist looking to take position to take even more.
Jumping on top just like we had feared. If you're looking for a Slept On game, this is going to be tough. That black hole getting stuffed short-handedly, though, is going to hurt Buff Aim Assist's chances of winning this in an endgame. Nice cracks, but they're not dropping down just yet, knowing that in a situation with 3 teams, they who start the fight first often are the ones who end up in second, if they're even that lucky. The Buff Aim Assist, they're going to play this one slow, and they've got to look towards Nightmare to be the team that these 2 squads can collaborate on to take out.
Yeah, absolutely, but they really should be the ones to pressure Nightmare right now, because Nightmare doesn't have all that much cover to work with on this walk-up, and this isn't even the final ring deal. We have another one that will close after this, so shout out to Nightmare for staying alive and really just not taking all that much damage from Buff Aim Assist. And seems I was wrong. There's plenty of rocks to work with for the time being. So Nightmare picking a really clever spot that potentially forces Buff Aim Assist and the other squad down below them to fight first.
Great angle from Dracos as well. He's keeping the pressure on Buff Aim Assist, making sure that they don't feel comfortable pushing Nightmare. With the Archstars flying in, Buff Aim Assist, their roof position is getting pretty iffy. They aren't going to give it up, nor do they have to with the cover they have from Nightmare, but even so, this is starting to cause some problems, and Buff Aim Assist will eventually start to run low on the meds that they desperately need.
And pretty much the whole map is now like devoid of grenades, as so much has been committed, at least by the side of Nightmare, to try and get this team off of the roof of IMC, because I think they recognize that that would be one of the only teams that could really pressure them out of these spots. But look at how they're holding angles, Dia. You said it before. Draco's holding off this off angle, doing a great job of keeping that right side of the IMC pressured, and both other members of the team can just continue to pressure, and they say go. It's time to fight. It is time to try and go at least for second place. Go for broke. There is the damage, but is it enough? Zainu trying to make magic happen with the last shot of the Mastiff in the clip, and Nightmare decides it's time to go. Buff Aim Assist is eliminated, and Nightmare has fish in a barrel.
There's a reset on the inside, and I do wonder, because this could go either way. Excellent shots from Bursty as Nightmare continue to control the roof. An excellent interrupt from this Seer as well. Nightmare are healthy. They're even healthier, and dropping down onto this low ground. It should be their game to take. Slept On can fight all they want, but Psycho is down. Boat is down. There's one member left, and it's a 1v1. Can Nightmare clutch it up? It's Flesh on the other side. The the rockets aren't going to be enough. There's a gold shield and a Nightmare push up. They're gonna take it away just in the nick of time. Slept on, get put down, and Nightmare take game 5.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous because Slepton did commendable job off of that push. It looked so dangerous. It looked so brittle. Their last healing situation looked near impossible, but even though they executed, I think as best as any team probably could have, in the end, Nightmare gets their break, Nightmare gets their win, and they get the kills to go with it.
I'm so happy we saw them pop off as well, because Nightmare are that team that we talked about earlier who got going in Game 2 on World's Edge and who couldn't make it to the end, but this time they make it. They show everyone what they're made of. That's the Nightmare that we've come to know and love. And not just that, Mello, but there's still another game left for them to give us a performance like that, and for Slepton, with their second place finish, to still make it past Esports Arena. They're really close.
Yeah, we didn't have Esports Arena on that map, which meant that there was ample opportunity for other teams to take that top spot, even just take their spot that they likely would have been forced into in those late games. No Esports Arena, so much opportunity. Not even BR Demons, who is really hunting for kills and hunting for points, was able to find themselves into that late game. So they weren't the ones pressuring teams to fight. They weren't the ones pressuring teams into horrible situations. And as we take a look at the replays, we can sort of see why. They have the fighting prowess, but when they're kept out, when they find the passion that comes out from some of these teams that are looking for that first place finish, it shows, man, because they're able to take down the best of the best.
I gotta be honest with you, Mello, I'm gonna have to take a look at some of the VODs, see if I can review them, because the fact that BR Demons have had not one but two difficult games on Storm Point definitely caught me off guard. The third party, of course, doing them in here, but even so, a squad that was able to do so well in the semifinals, I'd expected to have a better showing. I'm sure they did as well. The wonder lies in whether they'll be able to recuperate it one final time in this last game of the day, as Buff Aim Assist have certainly taken a tick up as the game has gone on. They got really aggressive, and though I gotta say, I didn't approve of this push, I understood where it came from, they almost made it work.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the moment to cut their losses and go for broke, but they almost pull it out. They almost steal it from the clutches of Nightmare. Rani, looking at about 15 health left there, is able to just play that out. And here we see the overall leaderboard. Even though Esports Arena is left out early, they are still in first place, though that lead has slimmed significantly.
They have not accumulated any points after their fourth game. They left with 0. And the fact that only 6 are between them and Slepton now gives Slepton that chance to push past them. I'll tell you what, though, if it's by 3 points that Slepton don't make it, they're going to look back on Game 5 and wish that that 1v1 had gone their way. It's so close going into this end game, although I will say it's realistically between these two teams. Either Esports Arena or Slepton will be moving to the Pro League, unless SCN kills everyone.
Yeah, I mean, what are we looking at here? I don't like doing public math because it tends to throw me into not so fun places. But yeah, right now, SZN is going to need a massive amount of points really just to even get up tying with Esports Arena. So they're preying on Esports Arena's downfall early. 0 points from them for them to have a chance. And we've seen BR Demons take out a large percentage of the lobby, but I don't know if it's going to be enough at this point, Dia.
Yeah, I want to give some credit, by the way, to Torchlight Productions, who, in the meantime, as these games have been going on, have whipped up this graphic for us. We are getting this going, and it's so nice to be able to have this on screen to demonstrate, and so you can keep up with your favorite teams, those who perhaps aren't in the top 5 or who are very close to it. So as these Pro League qualifiers continue to go on, you can expect even greater things than just the scoreboards that we wanted to provide you since literally Game 1. I'm glad we have them now, and I'm glad that we get to keep track of Esports Arena versus Slepton.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind that all of these teams will continue to scrape their way to any points that they can find. It's really not worth throwing your games at this point, really just throwing, random attacks at the wall, hoping something hits. You still have to scrap for the points that you need if your team is going to make it through Pro League, through the point system, right? There's still a lot of points to be found even in this final game. I mean, look at the middle of the pack. There's teams that are separated by as little as 10 points for a significant jump in Pro League points. All of those points count, so all of these teams will continue to scrap. I'm hoping to see that the Game 6 curse will not be upon us and that we'll continue to see these end games be very crowded and these mid games especially be very contested to the point where it's all up in the air. We don't know who's going to take these games down.
That's true. I really enjoy that because of the 4 qualifier system that everybody's got to play at their best. That's something that you don't normally get in Game 6s of any tournament because you've got to go for broke, and in this case it's not really true. You've still got to play for next week, the week beyond, the week beyond. So accumulate as many points as you can, see where you can put yourself, and, well, I guess see if the bad boys can get better. I'm surprised. Is that wow, they really do have only 4 points. That's really unlucky. I'm sorry, bad boys. I love you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's tough, but that's just how it goes with how high caliber the players are in these lobbies. It only gets tougher from here, right? And you can imagine how much more competitive the later lobbies are going to be, even in just other Pro League qualifiers, because if this one didn't go your way, you are more than hungry to make it go your way the next time. I'm sure the likes of BR Demons, if they can't pull out that insane, 36-point win or whatever here to take that top spot, they're going to be coming back for qualifier number 2 to do the exact same thing to the earlier lobby. So I think it's just going to get increasingly more competitive and even more scrappy as some of the teams that didn't have success in the earlier qualifiers start to find their own as the ALGS preseason progresses.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen, I will say, with exactly the same zone, good stuff from Void. We might just see it again. I'm crossing my fingers, right? Different zone. Although I do enjoy the challenge of being able to take on the exact same thing. The fact that we got 2 different teams, both SZN and then subsequently Nightmare, finding the win with exactly the same positioning is really impressive to me, and a lot of these were changed. Okay, this is not the same zone. It looks very
Let's
similar.
go.
It's not. It's like really close though. It's uncomfortably close.
Yeah, I mean, we get what we can get at this point, so we'll see something a little different here. And namely, this one's potentially a little bit closer to the rotation that Esports Arena has to do. Really, all they have to do is lock it down, right? They have to find their way into some good positioning, though I hope they continue to execute their game plan the same way they've been doing it, because it works so freaking well. We've seen it time and time again. Maybe not so much in that previous game, but just throughout this tournament, they've done a great job. And we're going to get to see if, at the bare minimum, Rack Attack gets a bit of a game here on Stormpoint. They've had a really rough time with this contestant. Look at the loot this time around. Oh my god, they really turned up the streamer buff. That's 2 purples, and they're running a Vantage, Dia.
For real. This is unlucky for the bad boys, who have had some really nice starts on the 50-50s, and this time are definitely going to find themselves disadvantaged. I wonder... disadvantage, it doesn't matter. They're going to likely encounter Redeem on their way out as well, should they choose to retreat, as bad boys are the ones positioned towards the northwestern side of this map, where we know Redeem has been coming down to snipe off a few of these kills. So once they get wind of these purples, I'm really curious as to how bad boys position.
Yeah, so we'll see what they can do, but they're not going to be too happy here. I've seen crazier, but maybe not so much when you're up against the likes of Rack Attack. Already having to pop a bat, though, but they've got 3 of them in the back pocket. I mean, how much more loot could you ask for on this side of the contest? But they haven't quite found the opening yet, and this rig is already closing, so Rack Attack trying to reposition here. They need to finish this one out quicker than they have in the past, because we know there's other teams looking, right? We know there's other squads that might be joining the party, and they've got the loot to work with. Maybe it's time to cut your losses and run, or maybe just full swing here. Nice damage coming out from Impulse with the wingman.
There's not quite enough for them to push, and Impulse instead gets chunked really heavily. Both he and Rack have no shields, are at very close to 50 HP each. pushed on by the bad boys at any second. Great cover from Bowser on this vantage to keep his team safe, to allow them time to reset. And there's the shield bats continue to get expended. The Gibby bubble provides a lot of safety for Rack Attack to push up. They lose impulse though. Can they turn this around? They've lost Rack, and Bowser's the last one standing with all this loot. Bowser is 10 HP away from dying and still manages to get out, find the white shield swap, and turn this around just maybe. Medkit will buy them a second. Rez is going off in the meantime. Can they get one of their own in time? Answers point to no, as this door is going to be kicked in, and Bowser's got no time to heal, and Rack Attack, with the best loot they could have asked for, lose the fight to bad boys. Do not land at mill anymore.
That's absolutely tragic, but even though they finally win out that contest, they might already have the teams that we're talking about, right? The teams that are ready to go, that are ready to fight and execute on these third parties. World Class, though, looking pretty similar in the shield department, though they might have slightly more resources in terms of ammo and, of course, heals that they didn't have to expend on an extended contest. So now, Rack Attack already looking down the barrel of yet another fight, and they have the low ground to work with.
Gonna be tough for them, that's for sure, with the double cracks going their way, ultimately. Hambino's the one that has to back off, and we know that the shields at least have been reset for a moment. As World Class look down, they haven't found any knocks just yet. Instead are playing this very patiently, even with the Horizon ult that they've thrown in preemptively. Excellent angle on Oxy. Ares starts things off well, and with a Peacekeeper at close range, it's not even a question of whether the Seer will fall or not. Just a matter of time. World Class have taken down Yuban. Two of the bad boys are now gone, and Mulberry Veggie Complex leave us before then. A crack signals that World Class are certainly not done yet. They find the last member of Bad Boys, and we're down to 17 already.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier. That was actually Rack Attack that was already down. Bad Boys the ones trying to defend, but they don't quite execute. And World Class living up to their name right now. They looked really solid there. Might have had the slight advantages we were talking about before, but still clean execution. And look at how much control they have over the side of the map, right? It can't be understated how critical it is to take the right fights and to take them at the right time so that you have the opportunity to clear out your rotation, right? To have that control to maneuver however you want and get the information that you need to play into the mid game. So beautiful stuff there. Now they have a great opportunity to have a very solid final game.
And it was a really subtly powerful move from World Class, because it's very Veggieplex did leave us previously. World Class has been able to alley-oop them from 17th to 16th, and maybe even pushing the borders of 15th and 14th. Every point is going to matter so much to a team like World Class, who's had a rough day so far. And especially as they look towards future weeks, they've got to get this consistency on board. BR Demons have been looking to dial it in all day, especially on Storm Point, where I have had their back going up against a squad that has defied all logic. Void have now lost 2, and BR Demons could be getting things going in the last game of the day. Void are out, and BR Demons, they're starting things off right, and I don't know if they can continue.
Yeah, and I don't know if they really have the members of the enemy teams left on the map to make that crazy comeback that they need. So a good start here, but 15 squads left. That's already 5 entire squads down, one by their own hands, and they made it look like quick work. So maybe this is the BR Demons we were hoping for, just a couple of games too late to the draw. We'll see if they can continue to exert that damage, that pressure, find those kills to climb up the leaderboard at the very end, at the bare minimum, for those Pro League points, or the qualifier points that are going to get them even closer to that Pro League spot.
Oh man, we're going just a little bit further up. Like, this is a very similar zone, and as much as its power points are different, the rotation paths are going to be largely the same. And we've already got, I think, Redeem in a much more comfortable position as the biggest standout, as a recipient of good favor here, since they get to sit in their comfort POI and farm up teams as they come in and have to contest. Esports Arena also not nearly as comfortable, sitting around the outside here. Have to make a very difficult rotation in, crossing over to the east through this mountain
Shall we head this way?
leaves you with either going through the spider caves and being open to fire on the plains, or going down at the low ground and eating damage from the team in swamp, neither of which I really like.
Yeah, and it's tough, but at the same time, Esports Arena understands that they have another opportunity here to clear out teams, to pressure teams in there. You can maybe even tell from the pings what they might be thinking about. Even though they can shove their way through these chokes, it's not always the best call to get in there extremely early, because when all of those rotations crash, you could be on the losing end of a lot of those rotations.
Certainly. So, slept on. I would say losing out on rotations with the time they're taking to fight, but they're gaining something else, being the squad in second place and desperately needing to move past Esports Arena. Every kill matters right now because it's your Pro League spot on the line. They take out 2 members of SZN, and Slept On get that reset as well. Things are looking good for them. Should they choose to push this agenda a little bit further and move themselves closer to Esports Arena? They're at 69 points now, and that's nice because they're now only 4 points away from ESA.
And ESA right now hasn't really gotten that opportunity to play the same keep-out game that Slept On just executed on against SZN. And look where Kenny is going. I mean, the amount of alarms that must be going off for Kenny are many, many, I promise you. But what choice do you have here? No banners recovered, and now just looking for a way to sneak on in here, hoping that they've gotten away with this one for now. And Esports Arena might not have eyes on this, and they might not want to capitalize on a solo member either. Keep in mind, they already pinged out behind them. They know that there might be other crews that might show face and try and fight them out. So Esports Arena, again, just executing on a very specific game plan perfectly.
And it is something that they've done really well. Cast your mind back, as I'm doing, to the first couple games on World's Edge, and every time that we were calling out Esports Arena's name, it was because they were doing such a good job of sweeping out teams that could have been threats to them, that were behind them or in otherwise unorthodox positions. Glitch Gaming, yeah, they're in a bit of an unorthodox position taking a fight, and they may be cleaned up as well, but they're doing the cleanup first. Out around these Prowlers, they've got a lot of DPS to throw in, but as FLS round that corner, the third party does the work, and Glitch Gaming are gone.
FLS takes down Glitch Gaming. They win out on this building as well. And in the meanwhile, we actually saw that BR Demons does fall, so they will get no more opportunity to rack up those points. They are out for now, and that means that the whole map has sort of broken wide open in the second ring. 13 squads left. That is not a number that we've been seeing recently, but in this last game, it seems the aggression has just been turned up to 11. So many squads willing to take these fights. BR Demons takes one of them and ends up losing in the process.
Definitely the pace of the game being pushed, even by those teams who have the most to lose. In second, Slept On jumped down to the low ground, and they are picking a fight, even at this point in the game. But we saw, just for a moment, they're getting sandwiched. Slept On cannot stay here for long. I wonder whether they'll be able to find the push. They did have a lot of damage thrown in here, but how exposed they are is definitely making me nervous, as I know Kim Chi Lee's coming up behind them.
And look at the pings. They know it too, but they might have been too late on the turn. Psycho goes down. Kim Chi Lee does get shredded just a little bit, but is going to be able to recover this health. And now World Class kind of has to force the situation here, and they know it. They're starting to push up, look for those angles. Kim Chi Lee continues to find that damage. It might be just about time for them to make the call, and the call is to back on out, take the high ground, and potentially find their Valkyrie ultimate, because First Attempt is also here. They're also present. They aren't the only ones in this party, and it seems like 3 stacks now are busy trying to find space on this side of the ring.
I am incredulous. I cannot believe that Slept On are still alive. That neither First Attempt nor World Class ended up going for that. They've got everyone back up. And World Class, like you said, waiting for that Valkyrie ult, have taken the passive way and let second place slip by. If Slept On make their way into the Pro League after this game, we know who's to thank.
Absolutely. And right now, World Class might be thinking about that, right? You also have to think about those opportunities you have to wipe people out on the map. I think one of the biggest downfalls of some of the teams in these pre-qualifiers is often the lack of aggression in the right moments. I think World Class being safe when needed, though. It's a little risky to drop yourself right between two squads looking for those kills. But Esports Arena right now are the ones that may be stuck behind these rocks trying to defend from the kills that these teams are so hungry for. Let's see if they can do it.
And we said it was a really difficult position to play. Now that they've got themselves all the way here, you do have to cross that mountain one way or another. Spider Caves no longer seem viable, but Capra with a really nice crack could open up a little bit of a different route. They've still got Valkyrie ultimate as well, should they just win this fight. Fury's got no shields, and the zone's starting to close in. The pressure is coming to a head. Capra with this wingman still lays in damage, but it's no knock. Not enough for Esports Arena to feel comfortable taking to the skies. Boney does so temporarily on this gravity lift, but he gets taken down. This could be it, as Capra trades with Dracos. They're going up against Nightmare, and Nightmare could just live and haunt the dreams of Esports Arena. One member left behind this rock as Boney heads knockdown shield, saves the squad a lot of trouble. Capra still is swinging out on these angles, but the fight is far from over as he retreats once more, finds the elimination onto Nightmare, and Boney is left for dead. Esports Arena, yes, they lived, but the cost is massive.
And unfortunately, Esports Arena really just was looking for that, right? They were looking for that fight that they could take to rack up that KP, but unfortunately they run into easily one of the most mechanically capable teams and team fighting teams on the map. They lose one, they already lose another member to the ring, as well as the shots from none other than LTC Esports. So the pressure is here, but Esports Arena is holding. No, they're not. Slacking takes down the final member, and Esports Arena is off the map, which means there's just one more squad Dia that could potentially steal this one away.
Slept on sitting at, I believe, still 69 points when we calculate in what they've got in this game. They've got to move up. They've got to get as many placements as possible to be able to make it past what is, I believe, a 75-point plus ESA. The gap is small, but one misstep could cost Slept on everything. Could leave ESA moving on to the Pro League, as we know they should be.
Oh, this is so tough. And all of these teams, you can see it in their eyes right now. It's so difficult to not want to commit to these kills. World Class is eliminated. Slept on, still alive, still plenty healthy as well. They have some space to work with. They might win out on this building, but they have a team out behind them. Lo que sea, in the meanwhile, is eliminated as well by Kenny. So SZN still on the map, looking to play spoiler for all of these squads, looking for points. Slept on back up. Slept on trying to play this out slow, but they're running out of space to work with, and they continue to be pressured.
So much damage is being thrown their way. Everyone knows that holding out this team is going to be the easiest way to move themselves into the end game. But a nice, what looks like group up for either a Valkyrie ult or a concerted push through the choke can still net Slept on in Launchpad. And will they go through these Watson fences? There's danger ahead. Not sure how they're going to make it through this. But let there be no doubt in your mind, Slept on absolutely must if they want that Pro League spot.
And they are doing it here as best they can, but it is getting increasingly more difficult. And unfortunately for them, they're in a position where every team is licking their lips for the free kills. So a Valkyrie ultimate is going to be their last ditch effort. And ultimately, this is a coin flip. And they're already eating zone damage, Dia. This is already a tragic start to a Hail Mary play. Can they live it out? Can they make their dreams come through and pull through to the Pro League? No, they're dropping on a team.
The low ground. A team on the low ground. Slept on. It is a crash landing as Psycho goes down. They still have to live. Even with two members, they can make up these placement points. They can find these kills. And it's good that they cut their losses because they still have so far to go. Boat and Karma are still alive. And LTC, they are otherwise occupied for now, fighting off the invaders from the north. Now getting shot at in the back. Things are devolving into chaos over here in Launchpad. And with a mastiff, LTC destroy first attempt.
And Boat, now the last member standing, but actually gets so much aggro pulled away from the last duo, the last remaining members of that team. LTC Esports gets incredibly aggressive, dropping down on this team with a massive. Does pick up the kills, but now they're defending with one member themselves. Everyone in this final ring is in shambles, except for maybe one squad holding up above. But this could mean, Dia, that Slept On was just in time. Actually, might find another KP on the way out. No! Yes, they do. They're starting to get punched out. They continue to find the hipfire. They continue to find their shield swaps. They have very few bullets left, but this member might be here alone. Beautiful hipfire, but does get taken out by Locks.
And just like that, Slept On are down, and their dreams at Pro League are pushed to next week. They won't be making it this time, as the cutoff just barely denies them. We continue to devolve into chaos to see who will be our champions for the final game of the day. Chatham is Prime in the top 3 squads with a Kraber and a Car are ready for it. And with just the last 2 squads, it's an easy cleanup. Chatham is Prime give us a quick death, moving us on from the last game of the day with an additional 12 points.
Wow, Slept On. If anyone was sleeping on that squad, now is the time to reconsider your priorities. What a performance there. And I think, Dia, it was closer than we might believe, and we might be somewhere near a photo finish. Esports Arena did live there for a couple moments, but there were kills that were racked up. There was some positioning that was jogged up a little bit, so I can't wait to see these standings. Slept On, though, if they don't make it through, a pat on the back, and of course, massive congratulations to them. Chatham is Prime, though, does come through with the cleanup on the last game. You have to give them that credit as well, getting aggressive when it mattered, picking up a lot of great kills there that might actually jog them up in the placements themselves.
I mean, with the additional kills, I really am waiting on the announcement. I'm 99.8% sure that Esports Arena have that first spot, and there's a 0.02% chance. It's very close. So let's take a look at the replays as I take a breather, see what we got for our very first look at a Rack Attack special. Unfortunately for them, didn't quite make it out of Mill alive, and I say this unironically. I think at this point you do move on.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit painful, but in the end, a lot of these squads are really just trying to find the last shred of KP and really just the last shred of practice that they're going to get against some of these fantastic squads until next week. And FLS finding Glitch Gaming there as well. This fight, though, this was sort of the make or break moment for Esports Arena. If it weren't many of the other teams, they find that kill a lot sooner. They are able to rotate into this ring a lot faster, but that is not the case. They drop early. And a lot of these teams pulling away the aggro from the last member of Slept On, though, ultimately not able to find that last piece that they needed. Chatham is Prime does clean it up.
And they really do.
Oh
my lord! Esports Arena sliding into Pro League with a 1-point lead. I will throw your mind back to Game 5, Mello, where it was Slept On versus Nightmare in the final fight, and Slept On lost out on it by 10 HP.
And that's 3 points, right? Like, that is not a small amount. That is the difference. They almost made up that difference in this one game as well. But, that one hurts. That one hurts me. But congratulations to Esports Arena. No one, I think, will argue that it was not well-deserved. They played out of their minds in the first half of these finals, and really just throughout they were doing a lot of things right. Again, just having a solid, consistent game plan with a solid, consistent group of players makes all the difference here once these lobbies get as competitive as they do. But Slept On, if they're not the favorites here, at least in terms of how close they got, I don't know who is.
They have got to be the team to watch going into next week, and if need be, the next one and the next one and the next one. Slept On have come out of seemingly nowhere and given us a show like I could not have imagined going into today. What I thought was going to be a BR Demons show, and credit to them, ended up netting them in 4th place, still got surpassed by teams like Slept On and SZN, who showed us that even at this top level of the qualifiers, they can roll teams when it's on.
Yeah, and they really turned it on. As Yen, a great example. And I mean, even some of the teams that we didn't expect to take away games, you have to give a shout out to Skies. You have to give a shout out to some of these other squads like Void, who we kind of did expect to perform, but just got caught on the bad side of some fights. And that's really all it takes to knock you down in the rankings, though. I mean, Esports Arena's performance, that's something that you take notes on, because that is execution to a degree that I think very few teams are able to accomplish.
And a big reason for that is the Pro League experience. There is a healthy debate, should you ask the right people, that Esports Arena should have been invited to Pro League. And the fact that they win the very first Pro League qualifier of ALGS Year 3 cements that. They will be going, and they will be going on their own terms. They know this, but Esports Arena, formerly known as W, is an incredible team that I've been watching for a really long time, and I am so happy to see them earn the place that is rightfully theirs. No one can question that ESA deserve to be in Pro League, and I can't wait to see them perform.
I can't wait either. Very well deserved. I think it's just a team that we expected to see on that list sooner than later. It turns out it's sooner. The first qualifier gets taken down by Esports Arena, and that's actually going to be the first qualifier wrapped up. We had a fantastic set of games. Thank you so much, Dia, for joining me on this escapade of just craziness. And I can't wait for so many more of these teams to try and stake their claim again. We've got 3 more of these left for y'all as we proceed through October and into the outside of what will be Pro League. And if you weren't excited about Pro League, you definitely should be now. But that's going to be it from us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for getting through these early kinks with us, and I can't wait to see y'all later. Peace.
Yeah, if you want to check out more of Mellowcrit's content, you can find him at Mellowcrit. I'm at esportsdia. I think almost everywhere, but mostly on Twitter, so follow me there to keep up with what I'm doing. And, of course, Torchlight Production, who will be bringing you all of the NA Pro League qualifier action. Keep up with us here by hitting that follow button and making sure that you are here for all of the action that we're going to have in the next 4 weeks, and we'll see you then.